Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, September 2nd, and we have a big-ass announcement to make regarding the show. Everybody knew that we were on Westwood One Radio for a long time, CBS Sports Radio, and we were very thankful for that relationship. But what we learned quickly was not only the mouths in this particular studio, but our guests couldn't adhere to the rules of the FCC for Westwood One stations. And I know that potentially resulted in some FCC fines for the folks at Westwood One, which were very nice to us, and we apologize for that. But we decided amicably to split ways and say, hey, probably not the proper home for the radio portion of this simulcast that people watch on YouTube every single day. Now, we have some major breaking news. The radio portion, the exclusive audio rights to this show, starting next Wednesday, September 9th, will be on SiriusXM's Channel 82, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Yes! Chris Mad Dog Russo, obviously one of the stalwarts in sports talk, one of the legends in sports radio, and we can't be thankful enough to the SiriusXM team for having enough appreciation for our show to put us on that channel. We had heard that there was potential some people that were not believers in us going on that channel. The SiriusXM folks that we have talked to and have done business with in the past have been nothing but incredible, incredibly hospitable, and nice to us. We're excited to get back into the SiriusXM family full time, and we very much understand that going on Mad Dog Sports Radio is a hell of an honor. We can't wait to go live 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, for 48 weeks a year. Okay, that was in the contract.
Okay, that's all right.
48 weeks a year. We'll be going to some big events with SiriusXM. This show will remain the same, but if you're in a place where you can't watch, SiriusXM will be the home of that. We're also moving our podcast, the Pat McAfee Show 2.0 podcast, to a daily podcast starting next week. Each show will then be comprised into a podcast. It'll be released daily. I mean, we got big things, and this show will remain the same. We will just have a chance to be on an incredibly massive platform, which is what SiriusXM is, working with people who are very nice, very professional. Not that anywhere else isn't, but it's just we're very happy to be going into that family, and there will be no rules for our guests, for us, for the things we could talk about, and we are so incredibly thankful and grateful. So next Wednesday, September 9th, we begin our voyage on Channel 82 Mad Dog Sports Radio, and we are very, very excited for it. Now, today, big day in sports, big day in the world. Foxy, put the side thingy up. We got a lot to talk about. All the boys are here. At Nick Marauda, rocking a Cole Suck shirt. I still agree with that sentiment. At Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. The Don Viva Lazito. Evan Foxy. Mr. Mansuri. Intern Mitt. Billy Tubes. Jason McAfee. And on the couch, at Boston Connor, rocking a Boston Celtics jersey, which, by the way, that team with Brad Stevens' big-ass brain seems to be really doing some damage. Marcus Smart got out a flamethrower in the fourth quarter and just got absolutely silky. Kemba Walker had reminiscent of back in the day whenever he was at UConn. I mean, that team looks very, 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 very solid right now.
Getting hot at the right time, 6-0 in the playoffs. Tatum also had 34 points. 14 for 14 from the free throw line. We feel good about the squad.
I've learned a lot about the Celtics from being mic'd up, and I try to watch every player's mic'd up because I feel like you learn a lot about the player when you watch them mic'd up.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Tatum, okay. All right. Marcus Smart, though?
Yeah.
Hey, he was mic'd up.
Oh, yeah.
And he was awesome. Big. Tatum is going to be a superstar, obviously. I mean, he's a stud, all that stuff. Marcus Smart, though, seems like he's probably the leader of that squad, if I had to guess.
Oh, yeah.
Bulldog.
Absolute dog.
And he is a dog. And Brad Stevens, Butler Bulldog coach formerly, is a big old brain on his ass. They're undefeated in the playoffs right now, 6-0.
6-0.
Things are really cooking. They were down. They got back. Last night, though, the NBA did steal the show, and it happened in a Game 7. Okay, in which Utah and Denver, and it's very interesting because the Eastern Conference, okay, the game's already finished. They're into round 2. Western Conference, there was multiple game 7s over there still playing in the first round. So that means at some point probably, now granted, I guess round 2 in the West could just go quick and in the East it could go very slow, but it feels like there's going to probably be some time difference between when the Eastern Conference finishes up and when the Western Conference finishes up, because the Western Conference is, top heavy. But then this Utah-Denver series comes in and it is outrageous. Last night it was game 7 and the way it ended, it's like one of those things where like hockey, there's like 6 overtimes or whatever couple weeks ago, and it's like all comes down to one thing, and that's like there's these moments where in baseball there's 7,000 games and it all comes down to one game or whatever. It's like a 7-game series that was a battle, monumental series where 2 players, Jamal Murray in spite of Donovan Mitchell, put up 481 combined points, the most in the history of the NBA. I mean, this Utah-Denver with little fanfare, basically talking about it. Little fanfare going in. Nobody really talked about Utah-Denver. They stole the show for the playoff series. And then the final series, the final like 15 seconds was didn't matter. The 481 points going up to that did not matter. The first 6 games did not matter. It was this hectic final series of events that happened, and it ended with Denver Nuggets being up to 80-78, missing a layup with 4 seconds left. Why are you even shooting a layup? Nobody knows. How do you miss the layup? Even bigger question. But it turned into the situation where the Utah Jazz get the ball to come back, and with like 2 seconds left, Mike Conley has this jumping, floating 3. And when it came out of his hand, that son of a bitch had to look so good. And in his head, 80-78 game. This has been an ugly battle game. Game 7. We've been getting into this. Donovan Mitchell has been superstar for us. Jamal Murray's been getting a lot of these 2. But here I have the ball in my hand for whatever reason. Some people are going to say I should have passed the ball. There is not enough time on the clock for me to pass the ball right now. We should not even be in a situation. And he's like, dagger time. Here we go. In the bubble. Playoffs. Woo. Coming out of his hand. It had to feel so good, this shot. He even pumped his fist as it was going. And then that thing goes halfway down. And then like a clown at a putt-putt thing, the rim goes, spits it back. Heartbreak City. Denver moves on. Mike Conley goes from having game-winning shot, this will be a poster in my house in an awesome moment I'll remember forever, to slamming the ball on the ground pissed off. But I think the NBA playoffs are starting to pick up. Basketball's been tough to watch, been kind of boring. But now that the playoffs are kind of picking up, last night was a good night for basketball. I mean, I was very thoroughly entertained. In 80-78, that's like a college, that is but some high school team's number. They were playing defense. It was a lot of missed shots, I guess. A lot of missed shots. But still, good game. I enjoyed it all the way down to the end there. And NBA, I think, needed that, by the way. I think that was something the NBA needed, is a magical moment to kind of steal the show there. And it sucks that Mike Conley has to be on the ass end of that thing.
Yeah, the problem with the NBA for years and years and years has been that the first round of the playoffs is always mostly chalk. But once you get in these later rounds, it does produce some awesome games, and we're starting to see that now.
I don't know if you noticed, old buddy from Toronto Raptors,
Pascal Siakam.
Fred VanVleet. Kyle Lowry.
There Lowry.
Attaboy,
Lowry, is it? Lowry. I guess he missed they missed 20-some threes or something yesterday. And they still, by the way, only lost by 3, right? And they missed all their shots. I guess Kyle Lowry went to the gym immediately after the game, didn't even get a chance to go work on a shot. He said he was missing too many shots. He said he can't be missing those types of shots. He went and got extra work immediately after the game because they lost by 3 and they shot poorly. They say this won't happen ever again. He went right to the thing. So I think the basketball is about to pick up just a little bit.
Big time. And those people that you mentioned that said Donovan Mitchell should have had the shot, why is Mike Conley shooting it? Donovan Mitchell stayed on the ground for a couple seconds there, and if he's getting up and running back on defense, he might be in a better position to catch and shoot and take that shot. So to those people, point your anger towards Donovan.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Also, Donovan Mitchell was a part of a 2-player run that scored the most points in the history of a playoff series, 481 points. Yeah. And you're saying point your anger at that guy?
Yeah, well, he played great. He played great. 481's awesome, but when people look back on that, they're going to remember 481 and Jamal Murray kept playing, not Donovan Mitchell kept playing.
I doubt it.
He went home.
I doubt it. No offense to the Nuggets. I love the Nuggets. I love their name. I love the laws that they have over there, but I'm just not 100% sure that's going to be something anybody remembers.
People don't remember people who lose in the first round. I mean, who cares? Charles Barkley made it to conference finals. He still gets shit.
Well, yeah, it's because he's
They'll
on a
remember
show
those.
every
They'll
single night.
remember those two going back and forth.
Yeah, I think they'll.
Well, what happens if Donovan Mitchell leaves and goes and joins the New York Knicks? Then what are they going to remember from his time with the Jazz?
Well, they'll remember, hey, that's a guy that put up 50 points in a game a couple times in a playoff. That's what they'll remember.
We'll see.
People remember moments.
Yes.
People remember moments. That is something that carries through the weight or carries through time is the moments. And I feel like those two had quite a moment this series. But to your point, though, I mean, we did not talk about it much, and I don't think a lot of people did.
No.
I don't think a lot of people. That poor guy, Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Let's remember that he had a hell of a series. And let's forget that what Connor just said, probably accurate. Let's not slander the guy's name. He had a hell of a fucking run.
How much different do you think it is, like, at the end of the season for these guys? Like, do you think there's a sense of relief that they're done as opposed to, like, I mean, if your
A
season...
lot of crying. Luka Doncic was crying. I believe Donovan Mitchell was laying. I think there's a lot of, like, real – because you're committing – I don't want to say you're committing more this year than you ever have, but I think the commitment level this year has been more than ever. You're leaving your family behind. You're going in here. You're eating the same fucking food every single day. You got to check into every room you go into, like all this stuff. I think their commitment level has been so much higher. That's why whenever they're having the vote on whether or not we should finish the playoffs, a lot of players are like, hey, I understand what you're saying, but we didn't fucking leave our families for 2.5, 3 months just to leave this thing. I think that was a real conversation. So I would assume that's why it's potentially hitting people hard, because it does feel like there's more emotional losses happening in this playoff series than anything I've remembered in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so.
What do you think? You don't think so, huh?
Well, no, it's just like, I mean, I feel like in a typical year, like if you were to lose in the playoffs like that, like that's something they would hold on to for a while. But I would just assume it's kind of like bittersweet that it's like, okay, finally we can fucking leave this
All right,
place.
good series, 7 games. We fucking did. All right, let's go.
Like
that would be a thought. I
Like
think.
you're getting over it much quicker than you would like a playoff loss, where you're holding that until like opening night the next
Champions
year.
have what, another 6 weeks in there probably?
Yeah.
5 weeks.
October 12th, I believe.
Yeah. Oh God.
Long time.
3 more series if you're a winner, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, but families ought to come.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
they're in
Toronto
there. They're in
families. Yeah.
Families in there already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really? Okay, so look at this. Look at this down the bubble
Things are
becoming a
getting better.
family environment.
around.
Yeah, Giannis's kid and I believe wife were sitting on the sideline watching the game the other day.
Yeah, and the Milwaukee Bucks also put out a tweet of just a picture of him, and they made the caption "Young Freak."
Oh, because it's his kid.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's family is not there because he said, that's business, baby.
Hey, Jimmy Butler, by the way, not married but does have children. He said that he does not want his family coming and interrupting. This is a business trip. Fucking get out. I need another 6 weeks in here of focused basketball. I put up 40 the other night in the playoffs. Nobody expected Miami Heat to be where they're at, but they're currently where they are, and they're going to get moving. Hey, put a check mark on that. NBA still happening. Let's go up here now. The Big Ten, nothing has changed, is what Heather Dinich said on Get Up. So Heather Dinich this morning on Get Up was talking about how her information, her sources are telling her that nothing has changed in the Big Ten president's mind because they have not been shown things that would quell their fear of the health and safety issues. I believe was her exact quote.
Yep.
Yes.
Had to Google what quell was, had to do this whole thing. But if you listen to General Bob Carpenter of the Big Ten fan, coach, player, athletic director army, he was talking about how this morning he put out a tweet that basically Kevin Warren is thinking about changing course because he's getting information now in tests in the ability to get tests that are quicker and more affordable from the government because of what happened with the conversation with President Trump. He said that Kevin Warren is potentially pivoting his standpoint on why they couldn't play and how they can play now. But if you listen to Heather's saying that her sources are saying nothing has changed. If you listen to General Bob Carpenter, he's saying that things are changing. So right now the Big Ten is still in massive limbo on whether or not they're going to play this fall. They are still in a massive situation where their fans and players and coaches are still pissed off. They're still in quite a situation where they're potentially going to have to watch the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, the American Athletic Conference, and potential D7 football playing this fall. And that's still up in the air. I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. And Sir Yacht had like 17 things wrong. But I think Sir Yacht was potentially on the right path with whoever was telling him. There seems to be a lot more Sir Yacht type tweets happening about the Big Ten changing course and coming back. So I think we do have to potentially give credit to Sir Yacht. But the Dan Patrick Show reported that if the conference call goes well with updated safety measures and procedures, the Big Ten is targeting an October start to their football season. So here we go. They're going to have another conference call, I would assume. Maybe that'll be able to showcase that the amount of tests that they have and how quickly they can potentially nip a problem in the butt, as opposed to having the Marlins 22 situation, which I would assume a lot of the presidents are thinking about. Well, if one player gets it, everybody's going to get it on campus. If one person gets it, everybody's going to get it. If they have the testing and the ability to get rid of people and have them quarantined if they test positive, is that the information they're going to need? Nobody knows. But I love when 2 people or 3 people have sources and all the motherfuckers disagree with each other. Because somebody is lying in there. But it feels as if the momentum is coming back to Big Ten playing football. Nothing to be said about the Pac-12. I don't think anybody cares. But it feels like the Big Ten passion from the General Bob Carpenter Army is potentially helping change course in this entire thing.
Do we know like what the vote has to be? Does it just have to like overrule the other side? Because if that's the case, they have to get 5 more schools on board with this?
Well, I've seen Jer Foreman kind of work the room a little bit and get a couple people on their side on, Dateline and other documentaries. But I would assume old Gene Smith, right? That's president or athletic director of Ohio State. I assume he and the president for Ohio State, who originally, if you believe the sources that came out and said that there was a 12-2 vote, was the first thing in postponing the season. Then the new information came out about the second conference call, the second vote amongst presidents, and it was 11-3, joining the original 2, Iowa and Nebraska, who always voted against postponing the season. The Ohio State University joined, and I would assume that is because of the massive peer pressure they were potentially feeling, or the backlash from their. I would assume that those 3 presidents and ADs are probably working the phones right now to see who they can get on their side. Because remember, you get Michigan to vote. I would assume you get Michigan State to vote there, right?
Yeah.
So then there's 2, because if Michigan goes and Michigan State doesn't, even though that's a tiny rivalry in Michigan, and what's that?
What were you going to say, Pat?
No, I'm just.
What were you going to say, Pat?
I mean, it's a rivalry.
It's definitely a rivalry, and
Yeah.
Michigan State dominates that rivalry because we have been to Indianapolis, and Michigan has not been to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship.
Okay, but way to go, Michigan State.
Thank you.
Did that happen pre or post doctors?
Oh boy, that was pretty.
Go green.
Wow.
Geez.
Well,
Okay.
it was actually probably right in the middle of.
Oh, no.
Right in the
Right,
middle.
go green.
Go white.
Wow. I mean, it just keeps getting worse for the kid. But if Michigan says yes, Michigan State will say yes.
Yes.
So there's 2 schools you can probably add on right there. Wisconsin's probably going to jump in because Wisconsin is a big-time name, right, in football. And they got Iowa and Nebraska. So they're obviously going to potentially be – they're probably targeting certain schools, I would assume. So they get Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin.
Penn State for sure.
Penn State, James Franklin has already been very vocal, and you got Pitt playing and Temple playing in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. You would assume that the state school would want to be able to play. So there's what, 4?
Yeah,
Is it
Indiana
4?
too. Indiana, Purdue, especially with Notre Dame playing. I mean, if
I don't know.
Purdue doesn't
play
seem
in here.
Well, those 2 teams.
I don't know if
big
football
enough,
matters.
big
Remember,
enough schools. But
Bob talked about yesterday. There's certain teams that they know they don't have a chance. Those are probably 2 of them.
Whoa. Take it easy.
Indiana's an
Boiler
up-and-coming school.
the fuck up, pal.
Also,
The Brom guy that's a coach there,
Yeah.
he said, do I have blood or a heart
I have a
beating?
pulse?
Yeah. Do I have a pulse and I want to play football? You don't know what
I
they're
love
doing
them.
up there in West Lafayette. You don't know.
Where Drew Bledsoe's from.
Well, let me guess. You're going to say Northwestern has no chance either?
No, Northwestern's great.
Wow, that guy's been a coach there for 45 years.
I
He
love
won
Northwestern.
anything, but that guy loves
Hey,
football.
I love Northwestern.
They're probably going to not do it, though.
I think Minnesota's good. You might want to target them.
Oh, Minnesota, though. I would assume
Fleck.
they have gotten pretty quiet. Though. You haven't heard a lot of Minnesota people getting loud, right? You haven't really heard a lot of that. I don't know. But they're going to have to get a couple. They're going to have to get – by the way, PJ Fleck's got that team ranked in the top 20.
Yeah.
They should probably be thinking about maybe – but, by the way, safety more than football.
Health as well.
And remember, that's what the president's thought was going to happen whenever they went in there. And presidents are people, I would assume, that don't automatically change their opinions or minds or decisions easily. That's why they're in a position to make decisions, because no matter what the pressure is or the force, they can't. I would assume that they've there are people that make decisions and stick with it. I don't know if that's just generalizing a person that is a president of a university where all shit runs through their table anyway, or through their desk. So I would assume it's going to be tough to get people to change their vote or whatever. But boy, Iowa, Nebraska, the Ohio State are hammering the phones like fucking, what's his face, Wall Street guy.
Jordan Belfort.
Yeah, Jordan Belfort right now trying to get in there. However, there might be billboards up outside of offices. I mean, I would assume the Ohio State knows that they have the most to lose out of all this because they're always in the national title picture and they're competing against teams in the SEC and the ACC, and those two are having seasons. And the Ohio people love Ohio State football. It's like, do you like Cleveland Browns? Nah. You like the Bengals? Nah. You like Ohio State? Oh, fuck yeah. You know when Big Nut runs out there and they dot the I and they do the whole thing? I mean, that is fucking what we live. Like, Ohio is a cult for Ohio State. And I think the president, if she didn't know that, she learned that rather quickly. And I am only saying this once again because I have felt the wrath of that fucking cult whenever I won after boat rider Urban Meyer.
Boat rider.
He should have addressed that.
Rider in the storm.
Hey, he should have addressed that. Like I've made up with Urban Meyer because like I've made up with him because I'm an adult. But as a friend of Urban Meyer's now, like I think he should have addressed that video
Probably.
much sooner. And maybe, by the way, he might still be setting sail.
Yeah,
he might be out of service and not even know that whole. We don't know. Yeah. We don't know because he's trying to get COVID cruise. You said, trying to get away from everybody. Yeah, we don't know. But I feel like that's something he should have addressed.
And also part of the report this morning from Heather Dinich. Was that the Big Ten received a medical report or whatever about one of the carditises that affects the heart?
Myorta.
Well, I have endo and periocarditis, and let me tell you this: it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a
just
deal.
can't have you can't have Jaeger bombs.
You just can't have Jaeger bombs. You can't have Vegas bombs. Can't have too much caffeine, and I think we can set those things aside if we want to play football.
Could you fathom if? Wait, I'm happy you put your glasses on for that.
Well, it's a doctor report.
Yeah. Well,
it does seem like a big deal too, though, when Diggs references that he has it.
Yeah, and by the way, and he always does make a big deal whenever he's ordering drinks or everybody else is ordering drinks, and it's a whole excuse me.
I wouldn't.
Can we put ginger ale in there?
Ginger ale.
Could put ginger ale instead of red.
It ain't taking me off the gridiron.
No, you're damn right.
Hell no.
But the Myorta thing.
Yeah.
What's it called? Myorta what?
I think it's
Carditis.
myocarditis.
So you listen to one doctor, okay, and this is the problem that we're currently in right now. You listen to one doctor, and they go, that happens after any type of illness. That happens to your heart after the flu. Then you listen to another doctor like, yeah, maybe, but it's nothing like what this one does. And it's like, okay, well, which motherfucker that went to school longer than I did should I listen to? Okay, like, which one? And that is the issue. And I would assume that's what the president's, if you have your medical person saying one thing, and then you got Iowa and Nebraska's medical person saying something else. I mean, it's just like, it's just a complete cluster truck. And I think that's why the worst thing the Big Ten did was they went first in making a decision. They should have waited. Yes. Should have waited because with every new day comes new information on this thing. And it's like, should have just waited out. But they thought they were going to be heralded as heroes. They thought the ACC was going the next day, which in turn would probably make the Big 12 and the SEC have to follow suit. And instead that did not happen because allegedly Notre Dame called the ACC and said, you hear what the fucking Big Ten's doing? We would like to play. So it's the story behind all of this, by the way. There's going to be there's going to be a Jeff Benedict book about this entire thing where they're going to interview every president, who said what, and Kevin Warren, and doctors and coaches.
He might do it.
And he might be the guy that actually, he's joining us, by the way, in 7 minutes. The man that wrote the book that we talked about yesterday called The Dynasty, which is a detailed look at the dynasty of New England. And specifically what was drawing a lot of headlines yesterday was how it ended. But somebody like him would do all of this exhaustive reporting and
interviewing.
There it is. That was in the
the one sheeter.
The one sheeter for the book, by the way. After exhaustive interviews. I'm like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Is it like, I've seen Dateline, it's like when the cops have people down there for like 9-10 hours and they're just like prodding them. Is that what an exhaustive interview is?
He did it with Tiger too.
I don't know. I do what, like 15 hours of interviews a week?
Yeah. You're an exhaustive
interview. Is that
exhaustive
exhaustive? I'm going to ask Jeff Benedict what the hell an exhaustive interview is. But somebody will do that for this whole Big Ten thing, and that'll be very, very compelling on how this all came to be, what they truly thought about the ACC whenever they said that they thought they were going to cancel the next day, who said what, because, boy, it has become a story larger than anything. And it is, we won't know who made the right decision until 10 years down the road with the health and safety and lawsuits of everybody. Most importantly, that third one is what we're all making decisions around.
And one of the big things on the Big Ten sheet that was explaining why they're not playing was testing and all those things. But if the president gives you all those resources at your disposal, how has nothing changed?
No, but how's the president doing it? That's the entire, you know what I mean? So now there's the entire, well, how are they going to execute that? How is that going to, there's just a never-ending
debate.
There's a never-ending debate, it feels like, from experts who are contradicting other experts in the same exact fucking field. I don't understand how it does. Did you guys not get the same books? I don't think you did. I don't know how it's happening. But I would say, as a person who is way too dumb to be able to figure all that out or make those decisions, it is a bit frustrating when you see one MD right there. Obviously, when you see one MD say one thing, and then you just go ahead and scroll just maybe one half a thumb. Not even a full scroll. No. Just like a half little. And then all of a sudden you got another MD that says the complete opposite of that person. It's like, oh, good. Okay, that fucking makes sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that's why I think this is also obviously confusing. And that's why I think you got conferences just going like, listen, people are going to say it's a bad idea. People are going to say it's a good idea. Fuck it, let's run with it. And the Big Ten, if they've already made their decision, it's a bad idea. I don't know how you get them to change their mind because people are going to be stuck in their decision making. But I think for the Big Ten, they're going to have football, I would assume. And somebody said there's momentum towards that happening who seems to know what they're talking about.
And that's why the SEC and Greg Sankey look like geniuses, because they're like, you know what? We don't know if it's a good idea. We don't know if it's a bad idea. We're going to wait till September 26th.
And by the way, that's what Adam Silver did early, too.
Yes.
Adam Silver, there was a lot of commissioners. Rob Manfred was going ahead and taking his foot out and just shoving it in his
down
mouth
his throat.
all the way down, as deep as he possibly could, on a very regular basis, because their spring training was stopped. They didn't have a season. But he was like making decisions. We're going to bubble here. We're going to do this. Then there was other people coming out and talking. Adam Silver was like, we'll get back to you in like a month from now. And everybody's like, damn, Adam Silver's kind of letting his season just go to waste and blah, blah, blah. It's like, then he pushed it back even more days. He was like, we're going to wait a few more days. And Greg Sankey did the exact same thing down at the SEC. And I would assume the ACC and the SEC talk because they're relatively in the same area there, I would assume. Oh, yeah. And they were like, we'll do the same thing. And Big 12 was just kind of out there in the middle of like the plains or whatever. And like, hey, what the fuck? So we were talking to Big 10 a little bit. They're very negative. We are not trying to do that. And Greg Sankey's like,
talk to you guys.
Yeah, you can talk to us too. Come on, we'll just wait. By the way, they might not have a season. I mean, something might pop up where that season gets stopped or doesn't finish or something like that. That might happen. But they didn't put themselves in a position to go out in the front of the thing and just take every single punch right in the face. And that is what the Big Ten chose to do.
Well, and now, too, like, I mean, they kind of had to do it because they've been taking it in the shin so much, but saying, like, oh, no, we'll be back by October 10th. Like, but they fucking waffle back and forth every day. Like, if they're
But then you hear Heather Dinich go on, and she's like, I've heard nothing has changed. It's like, well, she's obviously stating that on Get Up and is somebody who has sources and is good at what she... So she's hearing from somebody that this is not happening. So it's like, who's full of shit? Who's not? And it's not the people reporting it. It's their sources. Who knows?
Well, because one of them could be from one of the schools who's just going to say no, and one could be one of the schools that says yes. Like, it's every single school could have a differing opinion on this.
So we should start tallying then so we can get the final vote. So... General Bob is probably talking to somebody in the Ohio State the first. So they're still a yes. Okay, Iowa, Nebraska. You talk to people in Iowa, still a yes with Iowa. Nebraska, still a yes. Whoever she's talking to is a no. We'll play like a.
I'll do some investigation.
Does he have a mustache?
Oh, guess who?
That's what we'll play. So we have one of those other schools there. 11 schools that she could be talking to is a hard no right now. We don't know which one, but let's count one out there. So now we have to get 4 of the other 10 to say yes, right? Because then it would be 7.
Yeah.
And 7 would be half. I guess you have to get 8.
Yeah.
So they'd have to get 5 of the other 10. One of them's out. So now we got to get 5 of 10 to change their mind. Big Ten seems like it's promising. I mean, that's easy. Yeah, that's fucking cake.
Come on. You got all the resources.
We'll talk to Big Ten legend Dallas Clarke in the second hour. 1 hour from right now, basically. Dallas Clarke, former teammate of mine. A lot of people know him from his... I did not know that was what Jeff Benedict looked like.
Oh, yeah. Jeff.
My guy looks like he's selling and moving.
Yeah,
Hell
looks
yeah.
like Jordan Belfort.
Let's
kinda.
go, Jeff. Dallas Clarke will be joining us at 1:30 to talk about his obviously illustrious career. He was a great teammate, great guy. Never wore gloves, people talked about. But he's Iowa guy through and through. Actually lives back in Iowa. We'll talk to him about the Big Ten as well and his life. He was trending on Twitter yesterday because he was an answer to one of Jim Irsay's trivia questions. Pivoting back to the NFL, yesterday a book was released that every other sports network knew was coming because they got a copy of it to preview, except for us. And do not hold anybody accountable for that because it was very obvious that we would not have read the book anyways. But the headlines coming out of this book yesterday were awesome. At one point, Giselle allegedly told Robert Kraft that she was sick of Tom being treated like fucking Johnny Foxborough after being one of the most established quarterbacks of all time. Kind of a look inside how the dynasty was built, how the dynasty came to end, and honestly, a real candid conversation peek inside the greatest dynasty in the history of professional sports. Joining us now is the author of The Dynasty. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Benedict.
Yeah, Jeff! Come on, Jeff!
Jeff, you look good.
Hey, it's good to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Jeff, we didn't get a preview. What's that all about?
You mean my background?
No, we didn't get a preview of the book before it was released. Yeah. What happened?
I hate to say it, but I have nothing to do with where books go and who gets them. But I'm sorry that you didn't get one, and obviously you should have. So
no, we wouldn't have read it, Jeff. I've never read a book in my life, but I do respect what you have done. We yesterday. There was a lot of things happening in the sports world. And I think when those quotes started coming out from your book, The Dynasty, which is available right now, when those quotes started coming out, and it was such a detailed look at what was happening behind the scenes that we all potentially thought was happening, but was kind of getting covered up, from the injury that happened to Tom days before a playoff game a couple years ago, to the conversations with Kraft and Belichick and Brady. I mean, those quotes immediately shot up to me the most important things to talk about for the day, because you're talking about the greatest dynasty in the history of professional sports. And we got the one-sheeter and it said exhaustive interviews. Where were you, like that particular quote from Giselle where she said she was tired of Tom getting treated like fucking Johnny Foxborough? Who gave you that quote? Did Kraft tell you, like he recalled Giselle saying that? That is awesome if that's the case.
If you go, well, you guys don't, unfortunately we didn't get books to you guys, but in the book, that expression of calling Tom that name happens frequently, and it's a nickname that started getting used early on in the dynasty. And there's a great scene earlier in the book. It's in 2007 when Randy Moss and Dante Stallworth go to their first meeting as New England Patriots, and they're in the meeting room, and Belichick basically lights into Brady and is using those kinds of nicknames. And, you know, Moss and Stallworth are sitting next to each other going, holy, like, what have we just gotten ourselves into here? And it was an eye-opener for them. And it's a shocking thing, I think, for any player who's new to the organization when they hear and see that for the first time. There's a moment even earlier than that in the book where Deion Branch is in his second or third season in New England, and he and Brady have got this great connectivity going on the field. And in training camp, they had connected on something like 50 passes over a couple of days. And Belichick, kind of tore into the two of them as they were walking off the field, basically telling, Brady not to throw any more balls to Branch. And, Branch I interviewed Deion, and he was just like, I don't get this. And so I think by the time you get to the scene you're talking about, which is way towards the end of the story of the dynasty, this is something that's just been going on a long time. But I think what I would say, Pat, is that when I think about the relationship between Brady and Belichick, most people look at it as, they look at the fractures and the friction and all that, and as if there's something wrong with the relationship. I look at it differently than that, because I'm comparing it to the relationship that Joe Montana had with Bill Walsh, or the relationship that Terry Bradshaw had with Chuck Noll. Those relationships were loaded with friction and stress fractures and everything as well, and they came apart after about a decade. So they had a dynastic run, they won Super Bowls, but they couldn't stay together. This relationship had all of that, but it stayed together for twice as long and produced far more winning and championships. So I think what I wanted to do as a writer here in the Dynasty was, in every one of these instances, I'm trying to look at these situations through different sets of eyes or different lenses. And I looked at this relationship I made the comparison between Belichick and Brady and between John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And because I think it's fitting. You got the two greatest songwriters, the two greatest rock stars ever in the same band for basically a decade. They made the greatest music we'll probably ever listen to, and they're the gold standard. They always will be. I think Brady and Belichick are very much like that. They're the gold standard now for the NFL. They probably always will be. We'll never see another Beatles. We'll never see, again, what the Patriots have done. And so less focus for me on the tension, more focus on what that tension produced.
Yeah, negativity hogs headlines. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So yesterday,
Right.
The only quotes that were coming out were about the breakup. And when we were talking about the book and how you had, I think Drew Bledsoe's a part of there, and even the conversations back to the beginning of when Belichick goes to the Patriots and everything, like, we knew that was obviously going to be a part of the story, but negativity is always what everybody wants to talk about. So the only thing we were getting glimpses of before reading the book was the negative stuff in there. How did you get everybody to be so candid? Like, do you walk into Robert Kraft's house and he's just like open doors, like, hey, no problem at all? Like, how does that whole process work? Or is that a part of the interview process, is kind of like getting his doors down and getting the real quotes out of people? Because I would assume that's not an easy thing to do, especially from a billionaire, from all these high-end people, and especially talking about a situation that could have been perceived as pretty intense and toxic at the end there.
You ask a really good question, actually, and I think that you could do a whole show on the process of how you do a book like this, or how you build trust, and the kind of rapport that allows for interviews that are not about 3rd and 10, but are about things that really matter. And I think that everybody, at least I tried to convey to everybody that I was interviewing in this book, that, look, I'm not a football writer. I'm not a guy who's going to write a book about 3rd and 10. It's just, that's not what I do. I'm really interested in trying to understand who these people are as human beings. And so the questions that I would ask are much more personal. I don't mean invasive, but personal in the sense that I'm trying to understand who these people are when they're not wearing a helmet or wearing a headset and under the TV lights and all that. Because I think the really important decisions that are the formative ones for the Dynasty, they're not. Certainly, there are some major game moments where Bill Belichick makes a decision that is crucial, or Tom Brady makes a play that's crucial, and all of that's in the book. But there's a lot of decisions that are made away from the lights, in private rooms, in conversations, in the dead of the night, and those are the kinds of things that I wanted to get into, because I think they really explain so much more than meets the eye.
So when you talked to Tom Brady, you had an interview with Tom Brady, right?
Yes, more than one.
Okay, so when you talk to Tom, does it feel as if Tom, because in the book it seems like he was potentially going to leave after 2017, I think, and then a couple years, he stayed for another couple years, and going into that last year, at what point do you think Tom Brady made up his mind, like, hey, I'm going to leave, and there was no looking back? Because there was always like the reports that, and what was the situation that made him think like that? Because there was always reports like they're going to figure it out, even though he's going into free agency, he won't want to play anywhere else but the Patriots, and it was always kind of like outside, kind of decorated. Did it feel as if when you were talking to him, like he made up his mind that he was going to be a free agent multiple years in advance, and what was the reason why?
Well, I think that I'm really careful about not saying things that I don't know, and I think that's only Tom can answer that. So I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is that the interviews that I did with Tom were some of the most memorable. And I've interviewed in my career probably thousands of people over 25 years, and the interviews with Tom were honest, they were genuine, he, like I said, though, I'm not asking Tom about 3rd and 10, which is what he gets asked about all the time. And what I came away from is that he's remarkably thoughtful. It reminded me a lot of Steve Young. I mean, I spent 4 years with Steve Young writing his autobiography, and came away from it thinking this may be the most thoughtful professional athlete I've ever been around. And I felt that similarly in the time that I spent with Tom. He's incredibly thoughtful. He's a deep thinker, and that's what I liked about him as a character in a book. And obviously I mean character in the sense of a personality in a book. there's so much there. There's so much richness. There's so much more to him than the fact that he is this incredibly gifted quarterback, but he's so many other things. And so as a journalist, looking at a character like him or Robert Kraft, where there's so much dimension there that you usually don't have to work with as a writer. Here, it was like a gluttony of riches. There were so many places as a writer that I could go because of the richness of the personalities.
Okay, did he make you try avocado ice cream?
He wouldn't have to make me. I've had it myself, and it's not bad.
Jeff, come on! He had the room, I think, won over, and then you go with the avocado ice cream. What you said thousands of people over the last 25 years. You also wrote Tiger Woods' book, right? I mean, that is something that is very high up in your resume. Did you get a chance to sit down with Tiger just like you did with Tom and everybody? Because what an incredible life this has to be for you to learn all these things about these elite human beings.
Yeah, so the Tiger Woods biography, I did that one with Armin Katayan. We partnered on that. And we did that between the Steve Young book. So I wrote Steve Young's with Steve first, then Armin and I did Tiger, and then I did the Dynasty. And Armin and I did not sit down with Tiger.
Okay.
We certainly requested that, but we assumed going in, because it was an unauthorized biography, we assumed going in that he probably wouldn't sit down with us, but we tried. We spoke to hundreds of other people, including a lot of people around him, which gave us a really, rich insights and enabled us to write a great portrait of him. But it was a different scenario than here.
Got it. Go ahead, Connor.
Jeff, you mentioned finding out things that went on behind the scenes, and one thing that came to mind was the decision to sit Malcolm Butler before the Eagles Super Bowl. Can you give a little insight on what that decision was like?
Yeah, I'll say, I did write about that in that chapter, and without doing too much of a spoiler, I was as interested in anyone else in trying to understand that. I was also interested in the fact that it became clear to me that the players in the locker room didn't understand it. And that's interesting because usually the players in the locker room do understand what's going on with team decisions. But in this case, nobody seemed to, and certainly including Butler himself. And so I worked through that in the context of the Super Bowl game and then after. And I think the aftermath of that decision, because, we all know the Patriots lost that Super Bowl, and a lot of people think they could have and should have and would have won had Butler played. I don't know if that's in fact the case. I wouldn't go that far myself, but just to say that, look, here are the facts. This guy was on the field for more than 90% of the snaps that season. He was a leading tackler. He was a leader in the secondary, and he basically never took the field to play defense. So I did try to explain that, and I basically looked at Belichick's coaching philosophy and tried to put that single decision in the context of a slew of other controversial decisions he's made previously, most of which turned out to look brilliant after the fact. This one didn't.
Well, he's Bill Belichick, so anything he does is smart. I mean, that's just how it is at this point. You said you were with the team. Did you? You said you were with Steve Young for 4 years when you were writing his book. What does that mean? You're just like kind of hanging out, like you just kind of chill around, like, hey, Steve Young, what's up, Steve Young? Jeff Benedict writing a book. Don't fuck away. He's just like kind of fly on the wall type thing. Is that what you do? And how long were you with the Patriots for? And how long did the prep for this book take?
So in Steve's case, I worked on it for about 4 years, and I was with him a lot. He lives in the Bay Area. I live in Connecticut. So for me to be with him was a much bigger ordeal. I'd have to get on a plane, fly 3,000 miles. It was, we had to figure out how to do that. A lot of times when I went to San Francisco, sometimes I stayed at his house. I spent a lot of time in his office. I'd go to work with him. I was just around him a lot. And I also, whenever he'd do East Coast Monday Night Football games, so anytime Monday Night Football was in New York, Foxborough, Philadelphia, Atlanta, I would fly to those cities and spend a couple days with him and work on the book with him. I'd go to the games with him. I'd sit in the truck with him during halftime. Any time around him, that's how I did it. The Patriots was a completely different situation, partly because I live in New England. I could get in my car and be to Gillette Stadium in 90 minutes.
Ooh.
And so I spent, in other words, it was easier to get to where I needed to get to and to get to the people I needed to get to because it's just a car ride away. And so I was at the stadium and around people in the organization a lot, starting in the summer of 2018 up through when I finished writing the book, which would have been spring of this year. It just, in the beginning for me, it was a lot of observation, a lot of, not as much asking questions, but more just being around and watching and keeping my mouth shut and essentially just trying to take things in. A perfect example that I guess I could use is in the last chapter, chapter 44, called We're Still Here.
44 chapters. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
We're still
There's
here.
there's a scene in that
here.
chapter where the Patriots are playing Miami in Foxborough. It's early in the season in 18. And Mike Pompeo is at that game. He's a guest of Robert Kraft's, and so he's in the owner's box. And toward the end of the game, the Patriots are way ahead, so the game is sort of over, but the teams are still on the field. And Kraft takes Pompeo down to show him the locker room, and he wants to get him situated in there before the team comes off the field. And I just basically followed them down there. And so I'm in the room while Robert Kraft and Pompeo are having a conversation. He's basically showing him around, and all of a sudden, the double doors from the training room come flying open, and Rob Gronkowski walks out. Gronkowski had left the game earlier because he had an injury, and he comes out of there with an ice pack wrapped around the bottom of his leg. He didn't expect to find anyone in the locker room, so he was surprised to see them, and of course, Kraft was surprised to see him. And so there's an introduction, hi, and he introduces Gronkowski to Pompeo. I'm just standing there. I'm not part of this conversation. I'm just watching all this. And I watched the conversation between Gronkowski and Pompeo and Kraft, and then moments later, the team does enter the locker room. And this was Josh Gordon's first game in New England, and he had a good game. And as they gather around Belichick in the center of the locker room for the Lord's Prayer, they all kneel, as they do all the time. And it just so happened that Kraft took Josh Gordon's hand. He took his left hand. Pompeo grabbed Gordon's right hand, and they knelt down, the three of them together, with Brady standing behind them. And I was watching all this thinking, what an incredible scene. Where else in the National Football League would Josh Gordon kneel between the Secretary of State and the owner for the Lord's Prayer and have the greatest quarterback ever standing over your shoulder? It was those kinds of moments. I didn't do any interviewing there, so that's got nothing to do with the journalist. I was just watching those things and then recreating them on the page, because I thought they were, when you write a scene like that, you don't need to say anything about it. The reader gets it.
Thank God I'm out of Cleveland, he said. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thank you for getting me out of Cleveland. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is here in New England. What's up?
Jeff, when you get there in 2018, you're there in 2019, can you feel or sense a tension between Brady and Belichick? And does the team feel that? And then when they finally do part and they're coming to the end, what was the situation? How much was Kraft trying to keep it together? Were Tom and Bill in communication? Can you let us in on any of that?
I think that the honest answer is that Kraft was sensitive about that and focused on that with a great amount of concentration starting in 2010. Because I think as far back as 2010 is when, look, the reality is if this franchise had done what its predecessors had done, if they had performed like the 49ers of the 80s and the Steelers of the 70s and the Packers of the 60s, around 2010, they would have broke up. And we would have looked at it and said, what a great run. 3 Super Bowls, a close loss to the Giants, but a great dynastic run that lasted a decade. Everybody's happy. But Kraft wasn't satisfied with that, and I think he recognized that he had the two biggest rock stars in professional football on his payroll. One was a coach and one was a quarterback, and it was all about how do I keep them together. And so the next decade, which I sort of look at as the back half of the dynasty, where they produce this unprecedented run for another 3 rings, that's where the role of the owner, I think, becomes much more paramount. It's not visible. You don't really see this stuff because this is the stuff that goes on outside the bright lights. But Kraft's sort of genius as an operator that's when it comes out. And one of the most interesting things that was said to me working on this book was I did an interview with Rupert Murdoch, who's not really a character in the book. I mean, he's in the book, but not in a big way. But in the interview I did with him, he said something that was really interesting.
Who's
he was
Rupert
talking about Kraft.
Fox.
He said that if Kraft had gone into politics instead of business, he might have gone down in history as one of America's greatest diplomats. Instead, he's running a football team. And those diplomatic skills that he has is what he has used to enable him to keep Brady and Belichick together for twice as long as anyone else would have been able to.
Unbelievable stuff. I can't wait to read The Dynasty. It'll be the first book that I read, Jeff. The first book in my entire life. I didn't read Berenstain Bears. I didn't read any of that. But I will read The Dynasty because of the amount of information that you reveal behind the scenes of the greatest dynasty in the history of professional sports. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of The Dynasty, Jeff Benedict. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Have a good one, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
No problem, man. That was long, huh? Hey, listen, the writers, whenever writers come on, we got to remember, that is me being a young host. The writers get going.
Oh, yeah.
Remember we had Wetzel the Pretzel on.
That's right.
And it was really good information, but they get going.
27 chapters worth of information.
Yeah, well, 44 chapters that
Total.
book. Yeah,
That
we're
was about
still here.
27 of
We
them.
are still here. Jeff Benedict, unbelievable book writer, unbelievable access there that he got into Steve Young's life.
Yeah.
Imagine, guys, I cannot wait for the day that I decide that somebody's going to write a book and I just got a fucking guy hanging around. Imagine this guy coming around. I'm introducing myself to people. Hi, I'm Pat. Oh, who's that? Hey.
Don't even look at
Don't
him.
even look at
It's not human.
That's what Kraft and Pompeo. There was a couple people he said in there that I knew that I was supposed to know who it was, but boy, I did not. And he was on quite a run, and I tried my best. Interesting information though coming out of that book. A lot of headlines, and the fact that he, had to come out and say like, "Hey." I tried to focus on the positive stuff. It was like, well, I just want to let you know that the quotes that we're going to get out were fucking Johnny Foxburg.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're getting out of here, going in the living room. That was a long one, though. Mm-hmm. And I think we should take a break, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to go probably chug some green tea there. Learned a lot about Jeff Benedict. Incredible writer. And does his due diligence.
He knows.
Learned a lot, but not too much. Didn't want to spoil anything, because in the book, you have it. You can buy that book now, The Dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people in the YouTube comment section were saying, Pat's ADHD has to be kicking in right now. And you could hear me in the background normally when people start going, and I forget that my microphone's on. And that's 100% on me, A couple,
Oh, yeah.
At least not 3rd and 10 guy.
There's other plays too, Jeff. But he said he wasn't a football guy.
Yeah, he did.
Remember, he is not a football
He's a
guy.
writer.
He's not talking X's and O's, okay? He's talking Johnny.
Jimmy's and Joe's.
That's what it is. He lives by that. All right, we got a lot of other stuff we have to talk about. Kirk Cousins, if I die, I die,
Hell
he says.
yeah.
Can't wait for you to hear that quote coming from Kyle Brandt's 10 questions. That was incredible. I feel like that has made me love Kirk Cousins maybe more than you like that, maybe even more than primetime Kirk Cousins coming in last year. I'm talking, if I die, I die, Kirk Cousins says. Love Kirk Cousins. Kamara almost got traded yesterday. Have to talk about that. There's conflicting reports on that, too. Here we go. Welcome to conflicting report time on the Pat McAfee Show. Big Ten Conference, nobody has a clue. Kamara is either an unexcused absence, or he is present, or he wants to get traded, or they want to trade him. They're not going to trade him. They're close to a new deal. They're not close to a new deal. People believe that. I mean, there is a lot of conflicting reports. It is alleged, dude says one report, that he's back in the building today, is expected to practice, and the conversation about an extension will continue in good faith. But boy, yesterday, everybody was pissed at each other in the Kamara Saints situation, and he almost got traded allegedly. And that's a guy that you would think a lot of teams would want. But I can't stress this enough. Kamara is incredibly talented. I think he's the only running back in the history to have like 2,000 rush yards, 2,000 pass yards in the amount of time that he's had. I mean, he is unbelievable. There is 77 running backs that are going to be free agents next offseason that are very, very talented. The player is not in a good position to leverage. The fact that Christian McCaffrey deal got done, absolutely amazing. Derrick Henry gets $23 million or something like that, or 25, 24 million guaranteed, whatever it is in that ballpark. That is amazing for him because next offseason, running backs ain't going to get shit because there's so many of them. So many. Jameis Winston signed for $1 million.
Yeah.
Cam Newton signed for $1 million. This is, now granted, there's guys that signed for $25 million a year, but there's all. When you have that many people in the same position that are talented available, the teams are in a position of leverage and they know it. I like that Kamara's trying to get extended now. They said the last couple of weeks they've been trying to get that done. I think they should have tried that a little bit earlier because he's such a talented player. But it doesn't. It's tough to see the Saints pulling the trigger on a big number, knowing how many free agent running backs there's going to be next. And they have Latavius Murray, who's running incredible, and they paid Taysom Hill. I mean, it's just it's a bad spot. It's a bad spot for Kamara, even though he's incredibly talented.
You're kind of already seeing it. The fact that Fournette hasn't gone anywhere yet, and Devonta Freeman's been sitting on the free agent market for the entire offseason.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad time to be. It's always a bad time to be a running back when it comes to salaries because nobody likes paying running backs. But now that every good running back is basically available, it is not a good time to be a running back, and that sucks for Kamara. Hey, that sucks for Kamara.
Sorry.
I'm not happy about it.
No,
Sorry, Al.
I'm not happy about it because he's incredibly talented. He seems to be personable, very good. Mm-hmm. But the team has all the leverage right now. They have all the leverage, and they know it. It's bad. It's tough business, baby. 55 minutes after the hour, we're back at the top of the hour, I believe. In the second hour, we have Dallas Clarke joining us in 35 minutes. Iowa legend, NFL hero, former teammate of mine, one of the most competitive humans I've ever witnessed. Just refuse to wear gloves. Mm-hmm. Don't need gloves. I'll use my fingerprints to fucking wrap on these footballs.
Hell yeah.
I don't think he ever swears. Super nice guy. He and I, polar opposite humans, got along pretty well, though. Can't wait to chat with him. And also in the 2 o'clock hour, we have Ariel Helwani to talk about mixed martial arts news. The Street Jesus Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz will be fighting again for the baddest motherfucker title.
Oh.
In January. It is being talked about. And Brock Lesnar, super free agent now. Not with the WWE, not under UFC contract. The Bellator guy has come in. Coker has said, hey, I'll set up a fight between he and Fedor for sure if Brock is really a free agent and wants to do this. Then Dana said, I'll set up Johnny Bones Jones and Brock if they both want to do this. I mean, Brock has options. If he wants to go back to WWE, I assume WWE, who he's been the marquee guy for 20 years basically at this point. If he wants to go back. Brock Lesnar is sitting in a Arctic field in Canada somewhere. It is alleged that he has to climb a pole to get phone service where he lives up there. And he just has millions and millions of dollars at any particular direction he wants to go. Mm-hmm. And he's just up there chilling, knowing that he's the most alpha human in the history of mankind. Not a bad day to be Brock Lesnar. Also, not a bad day to be us. Hope you're enjoying the show. We're back on the other side of this piss break. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
He's saying don't go off the top, it's too shallow.
All you're going to hear this stadium do is they put the big paw up, they start shaking it, they go, whoa. Hey, when things are going good, they say, shit. Yeah, he loves the defensive side of the ball. He said yesterday to me that this is a blue-collar team. They win it on special teams. They have 5 block kicks this season. The defensive side of the ball, Lynch leads the Big 12 in sacks. But also on the offensive side, Denzel Mims is an absolute animal. He is a weapon. Charlie Brewer, the quarterback from Lake Travis. His dad was a quarterback in Texas. Yeah. His grandpa was a quarterback in Texas. And the people here in Waco just so happen to get a chance to see Charlie Brewer on a daily basis. Okay. Hey. Yeah, Boomer here is going to mean a little bit different than what it means on the internet currently. And hopefully here in Baylor, they hope they're not hearing a lot of Boomer sooner. Everybody wants to be a punter, including quarterbacks. If I was a quarterback, I'd want to be a punter as well. 0 yards on that punt. That's an embarrassing situation. The Dak dance that gets on national television has led to a lot of losses, but you got to respect the hips being able to. What sign am I going to make for college game day? Well, I want to make something creative. I want to make something fun. No, to hell with it. I don't like OU. It's so thick. Look how thick that thing is. That's years and years of patience.
You're heading right for the boat.
Right now?
For the boat.
Okay, let's do it. We are out here on the Brazos River, which you can take a boat to the game. One of the only stadiums in the country that you can do that. It's beautiful out here. A lot of people would say, this is the last time I'm going to be on game day. The last time I allegedly did what I'm about to do, I ended up in a jail cell. Let's go! Bad decision. The boot kickers get us way down here. It's a lot higher than I thought.
You look like Ric Flair.
That was a sellout, by the way. That was beautiful.
Do we have any other shirts? Yeah, hold on.
You need to go get changed before you get sick.
Great work, Russia. I'm actually not that cold. Hey, I went for it. My chest hurts. It was like 5 feet. I was standing there. That's full commitment, by the way. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Big day. Wednesday, September 2nd. Only got 3 check marks on the sidebar thingy. We talked to an author for fucking 72 hours one day. That was long. I can't wait to read that book, to be honest.
Big time.
I've never read a book before, but you did order the book, and the book is coming today, right?
Today. It will be at the house. Yeah, I'm going to, yeah.
By the way, Connor had 3 more questions for the guy, and I had to cut him off, so I apologize for that censorship.
I'll find him.
Yeah.
I'll find him in the book. I'll find my answers.
Hey, good guy.
Great guy.
Good author, right?
Yeah.
Diligent.
That was tough to get through there.
Extensive interviewer.
Let's go right down to here. Old David Blaine. We just watched this at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The son of a bitch strapped himself to 52 balloons, including 1 test trial airplane that was in there.
Yeah.
Had a hoodie and pants on, sunglasses on, 2-3 cameras surrounding him, and a handheld camera. Strapped himself to 52 helium balloons, including a test airplane, and went up to 24,000 feet. Okay? The son of a bitch went up to 24,000 feet, basically. Now, granted, the buildup was very uneventful, I will say. Very, very uneventful, because everything went so smooth, because that's what David Blaine does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what David Blaine does. I think at one point they were trying to sell that he was holding on to the thing, but it was clearly that he had a harness. I think they said that. YouTube was a YouTube original. He goes up 24,000 feet. He's got an oxygen tank that dropped out of the one balloon somehow. And he's breathing in. And then he just pulls like a ripcord as if you're at like a roller coaster or an amusement park and they have that swing thing and they're like, 3, 2, 1. Fly! And then they tell you to pull the thing, but really that doesn't mean anything because they're pulling the thing.
Right.
So even if you do that, they're pulling it for you. So you're kind of going, and then you fly by, and there's normally 3 packed in there. And if you have wide thighs, you kind of lose a ball for a little bit. That whole thing. Not speaking from experience, just potential options for people. He did that off of this balloon thing as if it was the movie Up, and he just drops to the sky through the sky. I will say, the moment where he was falling from like 24,000 feet to probably 13,000 feet. Looked wild. Yeah. I mean, he was just a body, a sack of bones just tumbling through the sky. Okay, just completely just boom, 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 boom. Then at like 7,000 feet or something, he pulls his parachute. Safety, here we are. Now we got to find a nice sandy ravine to go down there. Big thanks to David Blaine for like 47. That's a bit dramatic.
Crazy. Oh, yeah.
Well, no.
See, that's a bit dramatic right there. Because this is a guy who, he put himself in an ice block for like 10 years or something like that. He held his breath for 2 Seinfeld episodes or something like that. Maybe. The guy has done insane shit in the past.
Fish in his body at all times.
Yeah, he's regurgitated a goldfish more than numerous times on late. I mean, he's an incredible card trick. I mean, David Blaine, legend, right? And I think that's why we were captivated by it. But he's so talented in these situations. Today just went very, very smooth. Now, I will say it was much more dangerous than that fucking Nick Wallenda guy that we have to watch.
True.
Nick Wallenda, he gets these primetime specials, and it's always something. They're like death-defying stunt, and I get excited because I like seeing people, overcome fears and do insane stuff. And you turn it on, and this guy, because he's so good, he's basically just walking on his tippy toes having a good time. And then you notice quickly, right behind him, that if he was to fail, he would just be bungee jumping because he's completely attached to something. It's like, hey, Evel Knievel sent it.
Yeah.
Evel Knievel. The reason why these daredevils have it is because Evel Knievel, who I believe is related to Adam Vinatieri somehow, that son of a bitch was trying to die.
Yeah.
He was heavy box. He was jumping heavy box. And he was sending himself in there. And there was a chance. And we grew up on the Jackass days. There was numerous times Johnny Knoxville was trying to kill himself out there. Steve-O was trying to kill himself out there. So whenever you see Nick Wallenda getting these primetime specials and he's got like a strap on himself or whatever, the worst case scenario is, you get the bungee jump over Niagara Falls. Not that I would be willing to do that, but I know there's like 40,000 people on the internet that would be like, I would do that immediately for content. This one, when his body was just
humbling,
there was a moment of there like, is David Blaine going to be all right? And then he got the thing on, and we're like, okay, David Blaine's going to be all right. And then he's like, well, where is the telephone wires? And they're like, there's a small batch to your left. And you could hear there was a little, hey, where? There's a little bit of that. It was a cool 47 minutes. Very thankful for David Blaine. But if you stack this in the David Blaine against David Blaine, incredible things that he's done. I'm not sure this is in the top 3 spots, but it's still great to see David Blaine still got a little bit of a fastball, and that was whenever his body was hurling through Earth faster than the body's supposed to travel.
No, it goes like in degrees of dangerousness. It goes Nick Wallenda, kids who jump on trampolines, David Blaine, skydivers, and then Felix Baumgartner way at the top.
So Felix Baumgartner, this guy, he went 128,000 feet
up to the stratosphere.
And he passed out.
He did, yes.
And his body was tumbling.
Was nothing more than a sack of bones.
Almost disintegrated.
And by the way, Felix Baumgartner, badass American.
Oh, yeah.
Survived, not American.
He's Austrian.
Badass Austrian.
Badass.
Survived.
The only one.
And by the way, there was real moments in that where you're watching and you're going, he's not going to fucking make it. It looks like that guy is out on his feet. And he was. And there was a chance that was going to happen to David Blaine, but he's too mentally tough. I think his body's too tough for that to happen.
There's still one huge trick David Blaine can pull off and totally redeem himself, but it's going to be very hard to accomplish. He would have to make his name disappear from Epstein's little black book.
Yeah, well.
Why'd you say that?
What was that?
Whoa.
Did not know that was happening.
Whoa.
Apparently, he conducted a magic show for an Epstein dinner back in 2003.
No.
Come on.
Oh, God.
We're going to get shut
There
down.
were a group of young women there allegedly as Victoria's Secret models.
David.
All right.
Come on. Jeez. What are you doing?
I mean, Nick, what the fuck do we do now?
God damn it.
That's not good, right? That's obviously not. I don't know much about said person who people talk about dying in a jail potentially by himself or with others. Being in that book, though, is quite an indictment. Is that? I do know that. I do believe.
You never want to be in a pedophile's book. You never want to be friends with a pedophile. You never want to associate
We were
with
having
a
fun.
We were having fun.
We were having fun, Nick.
No, but Nick was letting us know, like, hey, watch who you idolize, I believe is what you're saying there.
Just got to be careful.
Good job, Nick.
Well,
Due diligence.
Oh, there it is.
He should.
Oh, gee.
Why do we bring it up?
God.
Nick, why'd you send that?
We're taking off now.
Tony Blair, Mike Bloomberg? Who the fuck? They're pretty big important people.
Bloomberg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Blair's Prime Minister of England.
What?
Yeah.
It was.
Was, yeah.
Jeez. See, that's the things I don't know about. And that, by the way, I like keep my blinders on.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
blinders
sure.
as if I'm a horse racing because, I just want to, I'm a pretty positive person. I feel like one, do sports show, two, dumb to understand other stuff. Then you bring real world stuff in there, and I'm like, I've gotten glimpses of that's terrible, right? And then all of a sudden you got Mike Bloomberg, Tony Blair, and David Blaine on the same plane. He should have fucking did a little hurl out of that plane. I think David Blaine. That might have been the best stunt. That would have been the right move. That's terrible.
Negative.
All right, how do we move on? Kirk Cousins says, "If I die, I die." There we go. That's professional hosting there.
Oh, boy.
I mean, what do you do here?
I don't understand why people are mad at Kirk.
Kirk Cousins is a guy. I mean, what do I do here?
There's nothing you can.
Literally nothing I get because what I
Don, go to break.
Yeah, we can't do that one on Westwood One anymore. Kirk Cousins. Okay, Kirk Cousins says in an extended statement, it ends with him basically saying, "If I die, I die." And this is on Kyle Brandt's 10 Questions podcast that is doing very well, and a lot of headlines are coming out of it. And Kyle Brandt, friend of the show, host of Good Morning Football, he had an interview with Kirk Cousins, and basically he said, with this COVID thing, hey, if it's supposed to happen, and fuck it. And he didn't say that. He said, in other words, here it is.
On that spectrum, if 1 is the person who says masks are stupid, you are all a bunch of lemmings, and 10 is I'm not leaving my master bathroom for the next 10 years, where do you land?
I'm not going to call anybody stupid for the trouble it could get me in, but I'm about a .000001. Yeah.
Really? How come?
Yeah, I
Still
just
a point, though.
I want to respect what other people's concerns are, but for me personally, if you're just talking, no one else can get the virus. What is your concern if you could get it? I would say I'm going to go about my daily life. If I get it, I'm going to ride it out. I'm going to let nature do its course. Survival of the fittest kind of an approach, and just say, if it knocks me out, it knocks me out. I'm going to be okay. Even if I die, I die. I kind of have peace about that. So that's
what I'm talking about.
So my opinion, wearing a mask and is really about being respectful to other people. It really has nothing to do with my own personal thoughts.
Well, your whole personal thoughts were the entire lead up to that thing, but I do appreciate the fact that he respects what other people are thinking, even though he's at a .00001%, which still is. By the way, in the back of his mind, there is still a tiny little. I'm thinking about it a little bit, but other than that, hey, if I die, I die. Kirk Cousins committed to one thing and one thing alone, and that's being a football player. Mm-hmm. Would you have ever thought that Kirk Cousins, the guy who everybody thought was a big old nerd, the guy who everybody thought couldn't play in big games, the guy who negotiated his own contract basically and got guaranteed money before everybody else, the guy that seems like he's a bit of an unrelatable person, the guy who became primetime Kirk last year, the guy who went into New Orleans and won a playoff game last year, who's now saying, if I die, I die. This is a whole new Kirk Cousins. And I'll tell you what, I bet you if I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
If I die, I die. And I've kind of made peace with that, he said. By the way, if we want to dive into that conversation as well, we can talk about I've made peace with it. If you want to talk about that, Kyle, I don't know how many questions you got on here. It says 10. You've asked me 50. But if we go into that one, I can tell you, I kind of made peace with it too. If I go, I go. Oh, big deal. Here we go.
And I don't understand the outrage towards Kirk Cousins because he didn't say that he didn't believe in the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. He didn't say that he was going to go out all willy-nilly and try to infect other people with the coronavirus. He said if it's just looking at himself, if he dies, he dies. I don't see what's wrong with him.
Well, I
saying
mean, if I'm a Minnesota Vikings teammate, maybe I think, hey, don't die. You
Well,
know,
yeah.
like,
I
hey,
need you, Kirk.
Hey, pal, we just paid you a lot of money, and you just won your first playoff game, and now you're primetime Kirk for the first time in your entire career. Maybe don't die, Kirk. Maybe that's why people are upset, because they don't want him to die.
But
maybe it's passion as opposed to anger of not wanting Kirk Cousins to die.
But his confidence is in him being survival of the fittest. I think he thinks he's the fittest. That type of confidence going into a season. Shit.
That's primetime Kirk.
That's
primetime
not
Kirk.
Yeah. Bingo.
That is primetime Kirk. Survival of the fittest. Hey, y'all motherfuckers ain't got an immune system. You got it. No big deal. That's Kirk Cousins, who goes into New Orleans, wins a playoff game. That's Kirk Cousins, who goes into Jerry World, wins a primetime game. This is new Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is confident going into the season, not only with his football, his immune system, his life, he's ready to die.
It has nothing to do with that.
He drinks emergency.
His confidence comes alone. I mean, he is another one. His confidence is coming from his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
He's reading that King James Bible more than he is his own playbook. I mean, he's just assuming
By
that.
the way,
Part 2.
Our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah, you
hallowed
bet.
be
All
thy
that
name.
kind of stuff.
Thy
But,
kingdom
I
come.
mean, let's pump the brakes. You know, maybe the guy wins the division before, we keep calling him primetime Kirk. He's coming back and all that kind of stuff.
So you're just a little bit upset that the Minnesota Vikings got a guy under center who's ready to fucking die if he has to.
Aaron could
You're
have said
upset
it.
about that?
Aaron could have said it.
Aaron could have said it, but, they could have also beat the Packers on Monday Night Football last year, which is a primetime game to lock up the division. They got shut out. He played like shit. So, I just...
That has nothing to do with what we're talking
No,
about.
I'm just saying, though. Let's temper expectations.
You know Kirk going down into New Orleans, okay, throwing that touchdown to win it to Kyle Rudolph or whatever it was, 2-point conversion, whatever the hell it was. You know that Kirk is just like, hey, this is the Kirk I always wanted to be. This is what I always wanted to be. Everybody saw me as this different. This is the Kirk I always wanted to be. I'm going into your house, beating you in a playoff game, throwing the dagger to win the whole thing. Some people say it might have been a push-off by Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph told us it wasn't a push-off. I think Saints fans would disagree. But, hey, neither here nor there. Couldn't review it because I don't even want to get into that. Kirk Cousins is a new man.
Yeah. And the team's supporting him. Use the first-round pick at a wide receiver. Give Kirk some weapons.
Oh, and the guy that you potentially didn't get along with last year, let's get him out of here.
Get him out of there, yeah. Make Thielen the definitive one.
Is Minnesota a problem for the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, I think they might win the division this year, maybe. But guess what? You know what?
Yannick up there now, too.
What's that all about?
Well, that's
Unique.
really what
Unique. You sound like Mike Lombardi.
That's really what worries me.
On Dake.
What's that? Ngakwe?
Yeah, them getting him. Their defense is very, very
Well, and
very
Aaron
good.
Rodgers, you see, is a guy who, if you can, kill him,
right?
That's the way to beat the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen what they're dealing with at backup, so let's just.
Oh my God,
He
you were
didn't deserve
so
that. He didn't
incredibly
deserve
rude.
that.
He did not.
Yeah, he kind of did.
I mean, to be honest, first-round draft pick as a quarterback should be able to throw the ball into a net that's about 5 yards by 5
Or
yards.
hit the net. Or hit the net. Or just hit it.
But also, he might have been tired. That might have been warm up before his arm got loose. We can't judge anybody by a clip that hits the internet because you have to judge their entire piece of work.
Right, he's just jagging around out there.
Yeah, he's just jagging around. Kirk Cousins, if I die, I die. Shirt is on the store right now, I do believe.
It's a good one.
It is a good shirt. Diggs put it together, and Diggs is very, very excited about it. The Kansas City Chiefs got their Super Bowl rings yesterday in a ceremony that was held at the stadium. They had entrances. They had incredible tables scattered throughout the field. They were socially distant. And they unveiled these rings that are just every year somehow it feels like they topped the last year. And these rings have gotten to the point where you literally can't wear them because they're the size of a watch. But boy, what a piece for these Kansas City players, staff, the whole building to put up in their office. It is gorgeous. And it felt like the detail that they went into is just next level. I mean, there's things for the fans on there. There's 16 custom cut rubies for certain things that I can't read because we're not zoomed in enough. Then there's 50 diamonds for certain things. Like every little part of the entire. Yeah, so the 2 marquee cut diamonds symbolizing the Chiefs' 2 Super Bowl victories in like 69 or something like that, and now 2019. Then the 50 diamonds that surround the rubies and logos signify the 50 years between Super Bowl victories. It's like whenever they went into it, whoever was designing it, whether it was Joss, 122 diamonds is
cascading around the ring's top edges, representing the 100th season of the NFL and the team's 22 playoff appearances.
So that's 122 diamonds, okay? So it's like, who had these? And then the 16 custom cut rubies, go back, that to represent the franchise's 10 AFC West division titles and 6 playoff appearances under Andy Reid. It's like the detail that they went into this. I don't know if it was Jawson's who called them, player name, player number, obviously that's on every single one. 69 and 19 flags for the championships that we just referred to. Be great, which was their motto. 142.2. That's the record decibel rating for the Arrowhead. I mean, it's like there is so many. And then the Chiefs game, the Chiefs' incredible fan base right here is across the top. The 4 princess cut rubies on the ring top corner are symbolic of the Chiefs' 4 straight AFC West titles. Then the Super Bowl LV, obviously, the official Super Bowl. And then they have inside the scores of the playoff games and the point differential underneath it. And then at the bottom, they have the tribute to Larry Hunt or Lamar Hunt, who's the founder of the Chiefs or the owner of the Chiefs. And then everything that goes in there, it's like, damn. How much fucking detail can you get into just to add on more diamonds? I respect it a lot. Josh Gordon's just went for $138,000. I would assume this one would go for more if it was to be sold in the future by a player that no longer wanted his. It's just insane what these rings have become. And looking at Patrick Mahomes, look at that thing. You know, I never got that moment because Drew Brees is his fucking baby.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what that would feel like to be on top of the world. In 11 minutes, we'll talk to a guy who has won a Super Bowl, Dallas Clarke with the Indianapolis Colts. But that look of joy, and then he immediately tweeted, "Run it back."
Yep.
Like, I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that can handle the success that they have somehow, some way. I don't know how. The offseason, the way it's been with no OTAs and not being able to be around each other, the fact that they got 18 of 22 starters coming back, massive deal. And they have that mindset of let's keep going. Everybody's been extended. I feel like they're going to be a problem for a long time, and that ring might be the first of many. I think everybody's assuming.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful because they kind of fucked themselves. It's gonna be hard to top that ring if they win one next year.
Yeah, I don't know how do you just say fuck it, we'll make it a watch. You know, like,
that'd be sweet.
Would players like that more?
Bro, at this point, dude, I mean, that thing is bigger than this watch. Like, it's bigger than this entire
Or chain.
Well, I think guys put the ring on the chains.
Does Vinatieri have one of those, or is that just a commercial?
Yeah, it's just a commercial. You're talking about when he had to go through the metal detector and he had, the whole thing. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Adam Vinatieri with rings on. I actually told a joke that the first time I met him, his rings were clanging against each other so loud that I couldn't really hear what he was saying, but the whole thing. And he was like, "Please don't say that I wear my ring. Please." I was like, "I'm so sorry. I won't say that ever again," because it's something that a lot of guys feel uncomfortable wearing almost because it's so distracting. Like, it's so large.
Very
I mean,
showy.
there's some players that wear it, obviously, and that can get you into any business meeting that you would potentially want or to any room. But there is rarely, I don't think I've ever seen a human wear it out in public just casually. Andy Reid said if he wants to go get a free burger, maybe he'll pop that son bitch on. Smart. Which I like that a lot. It's a centerpiece somewhere, or it's in a vault never to be seen again until like 30 years down the road when your grandkids ask about it or something like that.
Need some cash.
Yeah, I got 5 rings. Can't wear any of them. Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Meineke Car Care Bowl. No big deal.
Oh, wow. Like a tire on it?
You got to see that one.
Gator Bowl. No big deal. I think the Senior Bowl. I think we got one for winning a Senior Bowl.
Really?
What's the best one?
I'm not 100% sure. And then AFC Champions. We got a ring for it.
Oh, incredible.
Literally can never wear it. And they hung a banner for that too, by the way, AFC finalist or whatever.
Yeah.
And boy, oh boy, the internet had a field day for that. But yeah, so I have a bunch of rings I just can't wear, which is pretty cool. But they all look very large. I mean, the Fiesta Bowl one, very big. The AFC Championship one, very nice. I would assume if I wore it, people could potentially think that was a undersized Super Bowl ring if I was to wear it. But you can't wear it because then they asking, well, oh, we lost. Oh, what's that ring? Drew Brees. You remember Drew Brees and his kid? Yeah, right there. That's what that is.
You can always say it's a Super Bowl ring. They're not going to look close enough.
Yeah, well, or just buy one. I think we were potentially in the market for whoever decides to sell theirs next. I've seen that on Pawn Stars a couple times, old Rick, and I think that's not a bad decision. I think that's not a bad move at all.
138 feels kind of low for a Super Bowl.
See, I was wondering what people thought because a lot of people were like, he must need cash. He just got a bunch of it. And I was like, well, how much do people expect that to go for? Because, for instance, like the Kobe Bryant footage that's coming out, that's going up for auction, they're giving an estimation like $250,000. I think that's going to be way more than that.
Oh, yeah.
There's other stuff that goes to auction, and I always expect it to be a lot more than it is. Was $138,000 what people thought it was going to be?
There was other stuff in that auction, too. I think it was Babe Ruth's contract with the Yankees went for like $250,000, and then there was another rookie card that went for like $230,000.
Hey, Lost Sports Card's going big right now. You follow Gary Vee?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the sports card thing is just idiotic.
Whoa.
Like, why would you pay $2.4 million for a baseball card?
It feels like that's potential money laundering, huh?
Either-
It's like the art business. Isn't that something? I feel like that's a lot of money laundering is when you buy art.
Yeah.
People buy like, okay, here's $2 million in art. Here is that. I feel like that is potentially. I feel like baseball cards at that level is somehow people either need to spend money somehow to do something, or you just have so much money you're just shitting it out. You're
Well, that's how I don't know why like new people are like getting into it, because it's clear that you have to be uber wealthy to do that. Like if these just random ass cards are going for like no average Joe is ever fucking spending that much money on a baseball card.
Well, no, obviously not. I think that is generational wealth.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like no
That's
one
what it
other
is.
than those guys can obtain that.
Well, Dana White, right? Robbie Fox at Barstool did a tour of his office, and he's really into art. I did not know he was into art, and he started talking about some of the paintings he had. I would assume once you hit a certain level of cash, you don't know what to spend money on anymore. Like how many houses can I have? How many boats can I have? How many cars can I have? Oh, I never see any of those things. But this little 4x4 painting right here, I will see it every single day, and people will know that this particular painting is worth more than they will ever make in their entire life. And that is insane, I think.
You get a bigger house, too, right? And you got to fill up all those walls with shit because you're tired of looking at plain walls.
Because you can't have plain walls if you're
Can't do
rich.
it.
Can't do it. Won't do it.
At least some art's cool. Congrats on your fucking card, dude.
You talking about a sports card, bro?
Yeah.
You don't understand. It's like a stock market. It's only going up, dude. You don't understand the investment, dude. Hey, dude, you ever go... I'm not doing it. I fucking sold... I sold a Cabbage Patch Kid that I found. Ponder that. Hey, Gary V is he is driving the sports card market. I think, right now. He is driving it up right now.
Him and Lefko.
Him and Adam Lefko. Just what's that?
I don't know who's snickering back there. I don't know who that was.
There was
I
no
didn't say
reason.
anything. Yeah.
I do believe Lefko and Gary V are driving up the sports card stock market right now.
Crushing it.
I actually believe that. I don't know why anybody feels to laugh at that.
Foxy's just laughing.
Was that
over
easy,
here
though?
right
I don't know.
Well, it's outrageous.
Oh, you don't think Lefko and Gary V are driving up the sports card stock right now?
It's the all-time high.
No, that wasn't me at all. I love sports
Oh
cards.
my God, Zito.
That wasn't me.
That was you.
That was not me. I love sport cards.
Do you have any sports cards?
I do have an MJ one. I'm waiting to sell.
You got Pokemon cards. You don't have sports.
I also have a Charizard.
Oh,
Yeah, it's going to go for $100,000. I know it.
Goodell says that there's no competitive advantage with fans versus no fans, which, by the way, I think is a rare misstep for new Roger Goodell and our commissioner. He has been on a hot streak. Okay, he's been on a heater. We know it. Him in the basement in his football cave, NFL football cave that he did the entire draft from, eating the peanut M&Ms, probably having a beer, by the way. What? Hey, probably had a beer, by the way. Dressed cool, shirt loose, sit back, hanging out. This draft's too long, and I can't believe they're still calling. Roger Goodell, then he answers, obviously, the young players ask him what to do. He comes out and says, we handled things wrong. This is a new Roger Goodell because Roger Goodell knows that he doesn't have to negotiate another CBA ever again. 10 years from now, he'll be gone. So now it's time to be fun Rog, okay? Fun commissioner. New Rog.
Fauji.
Our commissioner. And what's that?
Fauji, fun Raji.
Okay. All right. Come on. Yeah.
Kind of like it.
Yeah. Or Roger Greatdell instead of Gooddell.
Or Fauji. Fauji it up.
Yeah, the thing about Roger Greatdell is he has not really slipped up much at all here lately, okay? Every decision has been, okay, that's our commissioner, that's our commissioner. When you come out and say there's no competitive advantage between fans and no fans, because some stadiums are going to have fans, some stadiums are going to have no fans, some stadiums will have a middle tier of amount of fans. Whenever you say that there's no competitive advantage, what are you saying, Roger? You know what you're saying? Fans don't matter. Fans are they're just dollars and cents. That's all they are. They don't matter. Home field advantage doesn't exist. Having fans in the stands that can lift the spirits of your team and can make the other team be intimidated that you're walking into a city to fight their team, that doesn't matter is what Roger Goodell inadvertently said here. And I don't think it was him, by the way. I think this was the competition committee because in the tweet from Mike Florio, it says Roger Goodell and the competition committee agree that there is no competitive advantage for fans versus no fans. I would assume he's getting bad information. And our commissioner, okay, new Roger Greatdell, Fauji is what you call him. He will probably come out and say, I'm not saying that fans don't matter to the outcome of the game because they definitely do. What I'm saying is there ain't shit we can do about it. And if they want fans, they have fans. If they don't have fans, they don't have fans. Sounds like that's tough news for you, bub.
What happened here was Raj and the competition committee didn't expect someone to look past the headline and connect the dots that fans don't matter. He thought this was just going to be throwaway, and it would be tougher to deal with him saying that they actually did create an advantage and have to deal with that versus you being a big brain human being looking past the headline and figuring out what he actually said.
Well, because whenever I heard Sean McDermott, I think came out and said that he hated it because he thought it was an advantage for somebody, and then somebody else came out and said it wasn't an advantage. It's like fans are definitely an advantage. Now, will 25% of a stadium affect many things? No, but what if it does? What if you have some whistler? What if you have 4 whistlers? Okay, and they just are wreaking havoc on the other team, the other coordinator, the other quarterback, the other offensive line, and your defensive line's getting a jump. You never know. So maybe he meant there's no competitive advantage because there isn't enough fans, possibly. But coming out and saying that fans versus no fans, there's no competitive advantage. It's like, that's not this new Roger Goodell who is making every decision properly. It's like you just said that fans don't matter to the game, and Raj, and I don't agree with that because I'll tell you what. When the Oakland Raiders guy who was wearing shoulder pads with spikes on it and face paint as an adult was yelling in my face, I was distracted. Yeah. And I wasn't as good at punting a ball as I should have been at that exact moment. So that's something you got to think about. Let's pivot. Let's conversate now with a man who's a legend, okay? Not only was he a stud at Iowa, and he was a linebacker and then just, I'll go over to the offensive side of the ball and become like a first-round draft pick at tight end, and then just take over as a dynamic pass blocker, ball catcher, wearing no gloves at all, incredible teammate, good guy, Iowa guy. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, 44, Dallas Clarke.
Yeah! What is going on, fellas?
Dallas, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Where are you?
Why did you not tell me it's Sleeveless Wednesday?
I know. Dallas, I know you're out there in the middle of Iowa. And
I could have pulled mine.
Oh,
I mean, let's go. Are we doing this?
Whoa. What are you? Oh, you've been getting after it over there, huh? Is that just farm strength right there, or are you actually still getting after it?
It's half. It's 60-40. 60 farm strength, 40 just throwing iron around in the weight room. Just can't get enough of it. You know, I think I'll lift until I die. I think I've come to the conclusion.
I
mean, look at you. I'm trying to keep up with you.
Well, I'm going to be very fat, though, at some point. So I'm just trying to have these pictures so that I can look back on and say, hey, you remember when. But when I talk about NFL guys being super competitive, okay, I think that is something, but there's levels to it. Like Bill Belichick just talked about how Cam Newton is this guy who's in the top echelon of being competitive. He wants to win every sprint. He wants to win every race. You were that guy. I mean, even at, I don't want to call you old, but whenever you were a little bit older, right, whenever I was there, you were that guy that was just like ultra competitive. Were you that guy your entire life? And is that why the transition from linebacker to tight end and then into the NFL was so simple for you, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Did you say simple?
Yeah, simple. No gloves. Don't even need the benefit of gloves. I'm going to go no gloves here. I'm just going to make this as easy as possible.
I think the only thing about the NFL that's simple is walking through the front door. After that, nothing is simple. But then again, that door might come back and kick you in the butt. But no, I mean, dude, I'm the youngest of 2 older brothers that just beat the tar out of me every day. And my middle brother, I mean, I'm still kind of scared to death. I think he could kill somebody. I mean, he just has a switch, So living with that and like, don't tell mom, I'll kill you. You literally believe that, and so I've always had that kind of fight or fight instinct, kind of just reminded every summer day, getting pounded by him while mom's at work, and so. Yeah, but we've always been competitive. I've always been, and I tell you what, Pat, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, it is, because I think there's this notion that you're supposed to like stop being competitive, over like who can get to the tree first or who can ride on a scooter. Like I'm competing with my kids now. I think if it's in you, it never leaves. I don't think it's something you can be taught. I don't think it's something that you can just like pick up. It's the same way of being a leader, right? I mean, I don't think you can learn being a leader. Like there's just some core about it that either you have it and you can flourish and grow with it and expand and get different ways to do it. But if you just don't have, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's just nothing wrong with not being competitive. Like that, I look at those people a little weird. It's just like, why do you not want to win at throwing the ball farther than the guy next to you? It's like, well, who cares? No, you should care. That doesn't make sense.
Let's talk about the offense that you were a massive part of in Indianapolis, because Peyton, obviously, one of the most competitive humans of all time. You were there with Marv, Reggie, obviously. That offensive line was a tight core from Edgerrin James, Joseph Adai, the entire offense there. What made you guys...
Pat McAfee?
I only came out at the end whenever you guys failed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but we needed you. We needed you.
Hey, clip that. Somebody clip that. Somebody clip that. Let's keep it going. But why was that offense so good? Why were you guys so good? Like, what was it about you guys, you think, as a unit that made you guys so reliable, so consistent, and so damn good?
Well, I think we just touched on it. It's the competitiveness. I think we had 11 guys in that huddle that were the biggest competitors and never were complacent. Always wanted, nothing was perfect. We could always get better. And obviously the ringleader was Peyton. And, I think, and what's awesome about every position on that line or in that group had that leader. Obviously Peyton's the leader of the quarterbacks. Jeff Saturday is leader of those offensive linemen. I was, leader of the lineman, Reggie Wayne, Marv, you look across, we got some dudes. When I came in as a rookie, I was like, do you guys need a towel, need a water? Like, why am I in here? Like, what is going on? This is stupid good. Like, it was phenomenal. And so you just have that and just the professionalism and the way we attack things. And then you have Tom Moore and, just running the show of just dog cussings, Howard Mudd, just dog. It was awesome. It was just a perfect dynamic. Obviously, Bill Polian, the mastermind behind all of it, but I think it was just the competitiveness and obviously the chip on our shoulders, wanting to obviously end up on top. And boy, did we take our hits and did we take our lumps and bruises and you don't want to live in the world where, gosh, that group should have had 4 of them, or that group should have had 3. Peyton should have had, whatever. You don't want to live in that because that's taken away from everyone else. Like, hey, we didn't deserve it. We didn't do what it took. But man, how hard it is to get that one. It's just like, thank goodness we got one. We should have got more. It's disappointing, and that's the competitiveness in us, But man, it was what a ride to try to climb those hills, because that was competitive football. Not that it is now, but it was fun, competitive, and that's when Rodney Harrison on the backside of the ball could just drill you in the back for no reason, and you look at the ref like, hey, what? And they're like, hey.
It's football, baby. Hey, that's football, baby.
Come on. Hey, come on, Rook. You should know better.
Rest in peace to Howard Mudd, by the way. Absolute legend of a man. Very important. He was offensive line coach, but very important to that entire building. And I was very lucky that I was drafted into the end of that whole run you guys had, right? I got a chance to watch, okay, this is how greatness is. This is what greatness is. The building after games, obviously people were happy, but it was like, hey, we're just coming in to do our job the next day. And then as I got towards the end of my career there's a little bit of a different view in things. Like the world kind of, there's the locker room kind of changed a little bit. And I felt I wasn't old enough, right, in the first couple years to say anything, but I was young enough to learn. And then when the transition happened into the new building, I wasn't old enough to be able to say well, this is not how it's supposed to go. So I was kind of stuck. I was kind of stuck in this very weird thing. But I would assume that when you came in there as a young guy and you have this incredible offense, this incredible quarterback, everything going on, and you're a young guy, you said you're supposed to be holding towel. Somebody at some point said, hey, wear gloves. I would assume somebody said that. Hey, wearing gloves is it's like putting salt on them. It's just everything is better with gloves. Why did you never wear? This is something I don't think I've ever got an answer from you from. I don't think I ever had enough guts.
I didn't talk to you because you're a punter. So I didn't even. Actually, I'm surprised. It all makes sense now. Seeing, I'm so glad we're FaceTiming because I'm like, oh, that's Pat. I thought you were Pat Breen. I thought you were Peyton's assistant.
Yeah.
I thought he got the show. I thought Peyton hooked him up with, a radio show.
Yeah. That show would be good too, by the way. Pat Breen. That show would be very good.
That guy would have some stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's the story. No gloves, all right? So I was a linebacker. I walked on as linebacker at Iowa and wore the gloves, right? Because that's what linebackers do. That's when we were tough. And so I transitioned to tight end. So that summer in 2001, my quarterback best friend Kyle McCann is teaching me how to play tight end. We're running routes in the backyard, and I gloves felt like I was still a linebacker. And it was just dog days of summer. It was 100 degrees. So I took the gloves off because they're all sopping wet. And dude, it was like, just feeling, I don't know,
look at those fingers though. Look at your fingers right now. I mean, oh my God, they look like bananas coming out of your palms. I mean,
they paid the bills, but so I took them off, and then it was just like, and then football. I mean, college football. I mean, if you can't catch a college football, I mean, it is like, I mean, it's a perfect size. I mean, you can just catch that out of nowhere. But yeah, and it just kind of, and so don't worry, it went through my head. I'm like, gosh, the NFL, I might have to wear gloves. And so that rookie training camp, that weekend after the draft, you go in, and I didn't wear gloves, and just, I've been catching the NFL ball obviously that fall or that winter, but it was defense guys. Obviously they'd be like, man, why? They were like. Running back to the huddle, like, dude, why don't you wear gloves? Come on, and then if I dropped one, obviously they're like, ooh, if you had gloves, you should go get some gloves, And so yeah, it was just one of those things that I just love feeling the ball, and I don't know, I felt.
Was it Baltimore or New England where you caught that ball like it was a tray? Like you literally caught the ball like this. I don't remember. I think it was Baltimore or New England.
Baltimore. Yeah, it was the south end zone, southeast corner. Yeah, that was what was crazy is like
southeast corner. Listen,
I was so open, and you're coming out, and I'm like, you're expecting, just boom right there. And all of a sudden it's like, where in the heck is Peyton putting this thing? And so, I mean, I think he wanted me to make the top 10 that week. So he's like, you know what, let's give a little air to this one. And so, yeah, he made me have to concentrate on that one. But yeah, it was, that was awesome because the crowd right there in the corner, they're just like, oh, you overthrew it. Oh, son of the dagger.
The dagger.
I think that was the touchdown. Oh, there she is, baby. And I think that was, unfortunately, I think that was my only catch of the day. I've been on a tear, so I was a little frustrated, but that was the touchdown that tied me with the late and the true legend, John Mackey, for touchdowns with the Colts. So that was a special reception, the touchdown there. So that guy paved the way for us receiving tight ends. That was he planted the seed that us young bucks we were able to cultivate, and now it's just now the Kelseys and the Kittles and all those boys, they got a whole new crop out there that's just flourishing, and it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, the tight end position is becoming a real weapon with the rules changing. You talk about Rodney Harrison go ahead and spearing you in the back whenever he wanted to. That cannot happen anymore. I mean, you might be playing until you're 45, 50 years old if it was the modern rules right now, especially with your work ethic. But let's talk about the that Buffalo Bills game. Okay? You remember this, and I don't know if you want to tell this story or not, and I hope you do. It is alleged, okay, and I was not in the huddle. I actually had like a $1.5 million bonus on the line in the middle of that blizzard. I had to have a certain amount of yards. So everybody on our team, this is my rookie year. We went undefeated until we chose to lose, which was not a decision that was loved by everybody, but we literally chose to lose. The Buffalo Bills game, it was in the middle of a blizzard. It was the last game of the season. And for me, there was literally a $3-4 million bonus on the line that I had to have a certain amount of yards per punt. I had to have a certain amount of punts inside the 20. Everybody else around me is like, this game is, just a joke or whatever. And I'm like, yo, leave me alone. Like I need nobody to talk to me right now. This is the biggest game of my life. But it is alleged that in the huddle, you guys were actually drawing up plays like in the snow because there was a certain amount of catches that people needed or yards people needed. Is that an accurate statement, or was that all just a lie that I was told on a flight ride home after I hit a $1.35 million bonus and had a great time and don't remember everything is clean?
Okay, so I think you just answered this, Pat. So you you were aware of what you had to do, right? You knew you had things on the line, right? And you needed to hit marks and things like that. You know, I'm not going to get in Payne's head. I mean, that's a scary place. I mean, that dude thinks about everything, right? You know, so it may have been brought to his attention that certain players and certain things had to get reach, or, you know, knocking on the door of certain numbers and records and things like that. But hey, when bullets are flying, here's the thing: like, you can try to have a plan, but you know, when now it's snowing and it's just, you know, those guys they want nothing but to just kill us, right? I mean, that's what, you know, they love that weather, and I do too. I'm from Iowa, but yeah, I mean, it was, you know, we were definitely in their turf, but yeah, to go to your question, I mean, it was just, we're trying to move the ball, and certain guys in the huddle are, you know, some playmakers, and Peyton just wanted to hit the ball in his playmaker's hand.
Yeah, he was at running back. I think you were lined up at running back at one point, and Reggie, I think, was lined up at H-back at one point. There was like things happening on this show. I'm sitting on the sideline watching this, and I'm too young. I'm too young to know anything. And I'm like, Dallas is a running back. I think Reggie Wayne might have been a running back at one point for like a swing pass or something. And Dallas is like, I'm like, what the hell is going? But by the way, Buffalo did not prepare for Reggie Wayne at running back. We went right down the field. I think we went down the field almost too fast.
We played Denver the next week in the playoffs, and you know, we just wanted to have them, you know, take more time. They had to study now Reggie in the background. I mean, you might think it was the stats and all this stuff. No.
Smart.
We want, like, what? Reggie's running back? Oh my gosh, he's going to set up a screen? Oh, I mean, it just and that's what, you know, we beat the brakes off of them, you know. So, I mean, it was, it was all because of Reggie in the background, in the backfield. Don't think, gosh, see, you're young. Yeah. You're naive. You listen to those things on the that's cute, but that did not take place.
And by the way, I'm a member of the media now, so I'm trying to spin up these stories. I mean, it's.
Hey, seriously. Okay, so can we talk about you now?
Yeah, let's do it.
No one wants to hear about me. Everyone's Googling me to figure out why is he taking up so much time?
You were trending on Twitter. Hey, you were trending on Twitter last night. You were an answer to Jim Irsay's question, actually. So you were actually trending. You're more important, very more important right now than you've ever been, if you didn't know that. yeah, you are.
Well, thank you, Pat, for making me. Mr. Irsay, I guess it would help me with that. But here's the thing about what I love about Pat. So Pat came in, and Pat was enigma. I like to say enigma because he was all about punting. Like he did his job. But Pat had always had a vision. Like this, like where you are, this is where you've seen yourself here 15 years ago. I mean, you knew this is who you're meant to be. And I remember, Pat, you specifically saying this, and you can deny this, you know, because, you know, you can spin the story. You're like, Dallas, I just want to make $5 million, and then I'm out, and I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna do. I don't know if it was acting or like the media. I was gonna have my own show. I mean, you're doing this in your apartment to probably some Pike High School kids. You know, you probably had like a Facebook page or something, and like, I mean, you're selling your T-shirt, dude. You are a hustler, a worker, and I say all that stuff in the most positive and respectful way. I mean, dude, you have a vision and you go for it, and that's why I've always loved you and I've always respected you, because you just see it and you go for it, and that's a gift, and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And I remember being like, dude, you are a phenomenal, like, you could do this forever. Like, and then when you retired, I'm just like, what is going on? And so, I mean, but here's the plan, right? You've seen this. And can I tell one of the best Pat stories that, and
please, by all means, Dallas. I thank you, by the way, for all this.
I do this with my kids. My kids are 11 and 9, the two boys. We play backyard football, and I'll do this with them because it might be the coolest thing in the world. And I can't, and And so anyone who has a shotgun, an old Mossberg or something, you know it's like a pump shotgun, right? And you have to you have to pump it. You have to cock it to get the shell into the chamber. So we're warming up for a game, and I remember looking over and I'm giving Pat, maybe I was wishing him luck or something, or I was probably giving him some bad punter joke like, why did you made the bus? Like we let you guys travel? Like, or did you fly Delta? Did you get in this morning on the Delta, the red eye to LA? So, and if you haven't noticed, I love my, because you have perspective and you have punter perspectives. It's just it's just always just a little.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
If you understand where I'm coming from, Pat has unfortunately taken the big lashings of these beatings. But anyway, so back to Pat. So I'm walking off, I'm trotting off the field, and Pat's like, "Hey, Dallas, hey, watch this." And so visual, if you're at home driving, so think about Pat taking both of his arms or both his hands around his thigh, which are like tree trunks, by the way. I mean, the dude has got some thighs on him now, all right?
You got it.
And that, sir, has paid the bills.
Yeah.
And so he takes so he put both of his hands around his thigh, and he boom, and he just he's like, and he makes that noise. He goes, like he's cocking his thigh. And he gets the ball, and then he just sends this skyrocketing. And forever, I'm like, that is the coolest dude ever. And it's like he just went so high as a punter can go in my book, just full respect. And it was the coolest. So now, like when I kick the ball in the backyard, I'll do that with the kids. Like, you got to cock it, right? Ready? And it was the cool. And so I thought you would do that in a game. I thought we were gonna do this as your finishing move for a wrestler, and bring all this stuff in. And he never coined it. I mean, dude, if you
I would love to know. And by the way, I do remember this interaction. And I do remember immediately after doing that, have to be like, all right, I have to bomb this one. For the moment, for the story, I have to bomb this. The thought of me, though, and I think this is something that is pretty cool that nobody really knows about Dallas, because Dallas, you retired and just disappeared, literally moved into I don't know, 700-acre farm in the middle of Iowa with maybe no phone service. I don't even know what the hell happened. But you just
we just got internet last year. That's why we can be on this. That's why I finally interview you. I mean, this is amazing.
Well, the thing about you were this all-pro guy, right? Big name guy, leader of the team, super competitive. All these jokes about punters you make, but the fact, think about the moment between a young punter and a superstar tight end who's a meathead. I mean, you are a meathead. In warmups, me being comfortable enough with how good of a teammate you were and how welcoming you were, and I think that doesn't get talked about enough with that group of guys. That offense and that defense, that team. Everybody was so cool. Dwight Freeney was making $4 million a week, and he literally sent a limo to drive me places. You were so cool to me, so nice to me, invited me to things. Peyton was doing the same thing. That team was just such a cool group of people. Think about a 22-year-old guy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, went to West Virginia, complete opposite human of Dallas Clarke, by the way. In warm-ups, me being comfortable enough, right before a game, going to Dallas, go, hey, Dallas, fucking look at this, pal. That was the cool part about that team, man. That team was so cool. I wish I could have been a part of it longer, and I wish I would have known while I was in it, how much I would learn from being, you know what I mean? I wish I would have in the moment known, hey, what I'm learning from these humans, either by watching them or talking to them, I'm going to carry with me for literally the rest of my life. And I'm very thankful for you for that, because you were one of the most welcoming guys I've ever encountered.
Well, you made it easy, Pat. I mean, you obviously, it's the one thing, you either fit in or you don't, and how you fit in is one. It better mean a lot to you. This big job, right? Big responsibility, and it better be important to you. You better want to compete. You want to win. So you have those check marks, obviously, and then you got to prove it, and then you got to back it up, and if you do all that, then you're in. And we all have to go through those kind of trial and error, and that's kind of the beauty of the game and the ugliness of the game at the same time. That's why it's 3-year average, and so it's not for everyone. And
Dallas,
they
don't talk about that anymore. Like a team's chemistry.
Oh.
Nowadays you talk about like, oh, this guy's this fast, he can do this, he can jump this. And I realized that after you guys left with the new, like, hey, we're bringing in incredible humans, but we're not thinking about whether or not and I've always said this because of the team in Indianapolis and the team in West Virginia. I said the good teams I've been on have all liked each other. Like the good teams and the bad teams I've been on, people don't like each other. And that is not something that is talked about enough in building a team. It's like, hey, you got to have a team that's all in with each other and playing for each other as opposed to just alongside each other. I think that is something doesn't get talked about anymore.
And it doesn't. And I don't know if it existed. I mean, I don't know if guys are on team. I mean, that's what's the beauty of it. I mean, look at the group that we had that were able to be, around each other. I was there 9 years. Peyton was there for 16, or 14, 15. I mean, it was just Saturday was there 12. I mean, it's just like have those big leaders, big time players around each other for that long. And then you just mix in with, all these other younger guys and obviously Polian drafted well. So these guys, stayed their whole contract and maybe got a second contract. And so, I mean, it just, to be able to do that, I don't know if the game allows that anymore. I don't know if GMs care about that anymore. I think they're just looking for the next greatest thing, the next shiny toy. But it's one of those things that we were able to have that. So not only were we able to win, but I think that the big reason why we won is you're right. I mean, we had each other's back, and I mean, we were friends off the field, like and so it mattered, and it wasn't just football, but it was, and I think it started with Dungy. Coach Dungy talked about that, and Polian has talked about that numerous times, how they look for guys that were going to fit into the locker room and not necessarily the fastest, the strongest, the biggest. It's just like they had to have that. I don't know what it is. Ask him. But there was something that they look for, and it meshed because, dude, we had guys from all over
the place,
all over. But man, when you're in that locker room, dude, like I'd take a bullet for every one of them. I mean, it was awesome. Great dudes.
Dallas, I can talk to you forever, by the way. You're awesome. Ty Schmidt from Iowa, though, Hawkeye, is pumped to talk to you. Ty Schmidt, by the way, big fan of yours, Dallas. Big fan.
Favorite Hawkeye.
Hey, Ty, what's up, big dog?
Not a whole lot. Dallas, I was curious, were you always going to move back to Iowa after you retired? And if you were, like, why is it so alluring? Because it seems like a lot of guys who go to Iowa, like when they're done playing in the league, they do end up moving back home.
Yeah, well, someone has to keep the lights on. I mean, if we leave, I mean, we, there's only like 10 people in this state. So if we leave and don't come back, then the weeds get taken over, and it's just someone's got to harvest the corn. So, no, I tell you what, it is. That's the best thing about being 3 lockers away from Reggie. And and I still remember the first time I told him that we had to go 10 miles to go to the nearest grocery store and to go see the nearest town that had a movie theater, and he just. What? You had to go 10 miles to get a gallon of milk? Like, what? Where are you? Like, just like, and now you want to move back to it? He's like, what? You are, and it's just like either you get it or you don't, right? And it's just kind of one of those things where, I have nothing, I think, New York City, I could live there. I would love living there, and it's just, so I'm kind of an enigma. I'm trying to be like you, Pat, but I can adapt. I can go in. I love the big city, and I love looking out and just seeing just a bunch of cornfields and just nothing but the beautiful harvest coming up. So it's just one of those things. I had a good feeling I was going to move back to Iowa. I didn't know if hometown or Iowa City or somewhere, but I tell you, it's home. It is home. Indianapolis, though, I will tell you what, Indy fans or Indianapolis Colts fans, shout out. I mean, that's home. I mean, Pat, that was such a hard city to leave because the people, the city, just everything. That was really, really, really hard to leave. I mean, we left. I mean, that was home. I mean, lived there for 11 years, and so just miss all the Indy crew and all that. But yeah, home's home and family's family, and I had to get back.
Well, I've never left, so anytime you want to come back, you are more than welcome to stop by. You're a living legend, and I can't thank you enough for your friendship and also this incredible interview. You're the man, brother.
Hey, can you do me a favor? One quick favor?
Yeah.
Can you give a shout out to Peyton Vogt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you just say hi to Peyton Vogt? And he's a buddy of mine that lives here.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the 9th guy that lives here in the state. Dude, you have to come out. I don't know what you're doing September 12th, but you have to come out to my golf outing and come out and play. But he's a huge fan of yours, and he was just like, hey, do you think you could ever, forget Peyton or any of he was like, you think you get Pat McAfee come out your golf outing? You know what? Pat's a crazy kid. He might actually just get on board with that.
Well, how about this, Dallas? You tell Peyton Vogt. That's his name, Peyton Vogt, like as in vote for like an election.
Yep, you got it.
Hey, Peyton Vogt, listen, you're a handsome son of a bitch. I don't know you, but I do know that if you're from Iowa, you got a couple good traits. You're a hard-working man. You like to have a good time. You're probably super competitive, and I can't wait to swing the sticks with you out there in the middle of Iowa, the cornfields, no cell phone service. You and me, Peyton, we're going to have the time of our life. I appreciate you.
You're the man. Thank you. Yeah, let's make that happen. And, hey, thanks for having me, man. This was way overdue, but I tell you what, I just want to give you huge props. You're doing your thing, and you do a great job, and I love how you stir the pot.
Oh, no.
I mean, a little, just a little.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit on Thursdays, just to get along.
Just to feel alive. Just to feel alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I don't know. I'm going to go no sleeves today. I don't know. I'm going to mix it up. Tomorrow's going to be shirtless. I don't know.
Oh, no, I can't. You know that. I cannot. Yeah, you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. But I tell you what, the arms are good, man. The arms are looking good. And it's just the hair. Obviously, you always had a great helmet hair. So, that's Lego hair. Like, you can take that on and
just put it back. Every day.
Every day. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, living legend, Dallas Clarke. Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Have a great week, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. I'll see you soon.
Let's do it.
Legend.
The veinage when he rolled up his.
Oh, my God.
Jeez. By the way, in the weight room, he used to be a guy.
Throw him around.
Country strong.
Oh, yeah.
He used to get after it. He and I, we had a very good relationship. You saw us. We warmed up next to each other. On planes, we literally sat and talked to each other. I've been invited to his house I've been to his house numerous times whenever he was living here and everything like that. We had a very good relationship. And we are literally, just two completely opposite human beings. But that's what football does, by the way, right? We've been talking about that this entire time. That team was so tight. And we had there was one time where I thought about competing against him, right? And it was this, we should call Ariel. We'll talk to Ariel Hawani here in momentarily. There's this box. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 square. And you had to jump 1 foot from the center to box 1, then box 2, then box 3, then box 4, and jump back to the center. And you had to do it 1-footed. And I played soccer, so my feet pretty quick, And Dallas was over there, and he was just crushing it, right? And I think he beat Vinny or something at the time slot. So I look at him, I go, we betting on this or what? And he goes, oh, yeah. Right? So he goes, the strength coach does the entire time, like from center to 1, center to 2, center to 3, center to 4, and then get back, whatever. He does the whole thing. And he has the time, and he's like flexing, there's like a little bit of a crowd at this point. And I go, and I'm 0.01 second faster than him, right? Oh, my, he didn't talk to me for he didn't talk to me like 2 days. He walked away. I obviously did this entire thing or whatever, but everything else, never ever beat him in anything. The guy, that was the only time I ever beat him in anything. And it was like, he legitimately got pissed off, like walked away, like see you later. I'm like, all right, that's the level of competitiveness I wish I had, Dallas, but didn't help you 0.01 second faster. We had a great relationship. He's a good guy.
You can tell.
Legend.
No gloves is always just the best thing to see
and
on
he
a football
said,
field.
I've always thought about wearing gloves, and then just kind of became something or whatever. He said like feeling the ball, which I can appreciate that.
Oh, yeah,
I wore one glove, by the way, because I liked feeling the ball whenever I dropped it, because I didn't want to stick my hand and whenever I had to spin for the laces. But I did want the enhanced catching.
Oh, yeah.
Just
in case. You can feel it enough.
I would like a sticky finger bandits thing, which is basically which is what gloves are nowadays. Like that thing will do the catch, and then I'll pry it off of there to punt the ball. And I think Dallas would have been the rules now with Dallas. And if you know what I mean, he would have next. I can't thank him enough. Joining us now from the mixed martial arts world, ladies and gentlemen, ESPN's Ariel Hawani.
Yeah!
Woo! Ariel, I would like to let you know that when I was on the IG Live, I asked about Ariel Helwani right in the middle of the thing. He called you a name, and then we moved on to conversation. You said I didn't have the gut sack to do such a thing. I am now accepting apologies.
Where's the proof?
It's all over the internet, Ariel. Oh, you got blocked. You couldn't see it. Oh,
geez.
too bad.
So where's the proof? Who's to say that you're not lying to me right now?
Well, the internet. Everybody told you. I mean, you saw them. Everybody.
You sent me some weird DM with all caps. I don't know what you wrote. You were like, "Did it," or "Thank you," or "You're welcome," or something.
You're welcome.
And I wrote back, yeah, and I wrote back like 4 seconds later. You never wrote me back. You were too busy jumping around wrestling rings and whatnot. I don't know what you're doing, but you could have at least told me what you were talking about.
You knew what I was talking about.
No, I. Okay, what did he say? What did he say then?
I think we both called you an asshole or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you did.
Well, one of you is lying, and it sure as heck ain't him.
Oh, you're talking about me right now. I think we did. Did you get sent the video clip at all? Because I want to let you know, anything. While I was doing the IG Live, I didn't think I had enough internet service to connect to it, so I thought I already ruined the thing. So then I get into it a little bit late while he's waiting for it. We have a conversation, and I realized that Lil Wayne was the last one that did this, and I think The Rock did the one before, and I'm like, I am not supposed to be on this thing. So I'm never going to get invited back. Might as well at least shove it to Ariel Helwani in the middle.
So what was the question? How annoying is that guy? Like, how'd you set it up?
It was talking about how old buddy was going to get Stipe was going to get a championship fight regardless of what happens in this fight. I said I was listening to asshole Ariel Helwani earlier or something like that. And he said that Stipe is probably, even if he loses, will get a chance to fight for the title next fight anyways. Is that something you say? And he said that I'm a very smart man and he said he agreed that you were an asshole, and then we just kind of moved on with the conversation. But it did happen, and I felt very, very good about it.
Well, kudos to you. And in all seriousness, as I said to you yesterday, I do have to give you a lot of props. I know we like to bust chops here, but what you did in that wrestling ring, my man, honestly, nothing short of amazing. I've been watching pro wrestling for a very long time. I believe 1986, to be exact, was when I first was introduced to it. Wow. That was the greatest debut by a celebrity/athlete in the history of the pro wrestling business, as Triple H likes to say.
Hell yeah!
So,
hell yeah!
Hell yeah! That was amazing.
I mean, there's others that I've enjoyed, obviously.
No one was as good as you, honestly. I know you didn't get to do it for the big brand. They put you on like the smaller brand. It makes sense considering you're a small brand. But
let's talk about said small brand. I appreciate that compliment and then immediate backhand. But the DC announced on my show that he was going to retire after this fight. Then you guys made it feel as if it was on your show. He is officially retiring. How do you feel Daniel Cormier feels about what happened in his fight against Stipe and obviously going forward?
I think he's at peace with it. I think he would have obviously liked to go out on top. It was the perfect scenario. It was the kind of scenario that every athlete, let alone fighter, dreams of. You win a championship in your final fight or your final game. And I know he took it very hard, but I think the fact that this time around, the fact that he has other options, that he's got a TV career, that he's got so many other opportunities, I think softens the blow a little bit for him. Is my connection bad? Is that why you're making all these faces?
It froze in a compromising face of yours, and it would be a real shame if people clip that. I mean, it would be a real shame if that. I mean, it's not your
fault. It's still frozen.
No, you're good. You're good. But boy, it was like I wish I could. It was like a very bad time. I mean, it was. And by the way, Foxy did you no favors.
Yeah, I didn't have the package ready.
He left it just sitting up there for at least 3 to 4 seconds, and that. Oh, that's tough. But I'm happy Cormier is happy. He is so good on the microphone. And your show with him is I learn a lot, obviously, from your show because I don't.
You watch it? I
watch the clips, not the whole thing. I ain't got time. Jeff Benedict talked for 75 hours earlier. I don't have time to do things for long. I only quick burst here, and I'm gonna keep it moving. ADD, how you doing? Keep it moving. The out of your Twitter yesterday though. About once every other week, your Twitter account becomes relevant, right? I think that's probably...
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Jeff Passan or anyone I try.
Yeah, Jet's had a hot run here with the controversies around baseball, but yesterday you went big because Street Jesus, Jorge Masvidal, and Nate Diaz, which would be their second fight, is being talked about happening. You broke that news, saying it's probably going to happen in January. Now more news has come out that's for the baddest motherfucker on earth title again, which was allegedly a one-off. What are you hearing about this? Is this definitely going to happen? And I'm so thankful that title is going to be something that is going to be up for grabs.
Well, I love the fact that you actually said the entire BMF name because no one ever says it. We're not allowed to say it, obviously, on the Disney Channel. So it felt refreshing to hear it actually.
I respect the brand. Yeah, that's why Dana White likes me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
It knows I exist because I respect the brand.
100%. So
unlike you.
Amen. So they reached out to both of them on Tuesday afternoon. Talks, I would categorize them as early stages. With both of those guys, there are negotiations. It's not like, hey, Nathan Diaz, are you in for January 2nd? Yes, I'm in. Send me the bout agreement. There's a process here. It's a little different with those two in particular. So another outlet, TMZ, came out with a report that it would be the same night as the Usman Burns fight on December 12th. That's not going to happen. There's a better chance of you getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Pat, than those guys being the co-main event of Usman Burns.
A little aggressive here. I don't think. That's quite I don't think you needed it.
Exactly. That's the point.
Just go on with your point.
They're not going to be the co-main event to those guys, so they're going to do them in January, and I think there's a good chance of it happening because Masvidal said that if he doesn't get a chance to fight for the belt, the only other fight that interests him is Diaz, and Diaz has said, I'm more interested in this fight than the Conor McGregor trilogy fight. So they both want it to happen. Now, also, I'm told they haven't even talked about the BMF title, but I'm told that Masvidal, regardless of what happens, and I think that ultimately it will be on the line, he's bringing it to that fight because he appreciates the fact that Diaz created the belt and said, I want to defend it against you, so he's going to return the favor if and when they fight in early January.
Do you think it's because of Disney that is not a prominent piece? Because I think that's like... No, you don't think that. The baddest motherfucker...
You're trying to get me in trouble with my own employer here. Why would you ask such a question? Is it because of Disney? They just did it for the BMF title back in November. Why would they not do it again?
Yeah, but then it kind of disappeared. It almost like it ruffled some feathers. We're like, hey, we can't have the baddest motherfucker title on.
Halle Berry said it on.
I mean, Halle Berry said it. Why won't you say it?
I mean, no one asked me to say it. It wasn't.
Say it right now.
Say it right
now. What's the belt?
Say it.
Okay, well,
I think it's frozen again.
Oh, your Wi-Fi. Got it. Okay, it's Wi-Fi from basement there. We're in a big studio, by the way. You're in a tiny little room. Yeah. The Brock Lesnar thing is very, very interesting at this point. Okay, Brock Lesnar announces a free agent.
It's good for
you froze again. That time you were smiling though, so it was at least a good one. I mean, Brock Lesnar news became viral obviously because he was a WWE free agent, and in the wrestling world, there's a competition now, so nobody knew what was going to happen. But immediately upon realizing that Brock Lesnar is not only a free agent from the WWE, everybody realized, oh, he's a free agent from everything. Like right now, Brock Lesnar has no contracts tying him to fight anywhere, wrestle anywhere, do anything. So obviously, people started spinning narratives here. Johnny Bones Jones said, I'll beat your ass, Brock, in an attempt to maybe get them on a card. Coker has come out and said Fedor Brock is a fight that has never happened. What are you hearing on that front? And is Brock going to get back into the octagon, what you're hearing, or is this all just rumors? You're not 100% sure.
First of all, I'm always sure of everything, so get that through your little head. I mean, they call me the nose for a reason because I knows everything. You get what I'm saying? Not just because of my big nose. Now, this happens every year or two, right? When it comes to Brock Lesnar, he might be the greatest businessman in the history of combat sports, because he always quote unquote fights out his contract, right? And then he becomes a free agent, and then he uses the UFC as leverage, and then more often than not these days he'll go back to WWE and get a huge deal. Well, something really interesting happened yesterday. Your friend Dana White was asked a question at a press conference about Brock Lesnar fighting Jon Jones, and what he said to me told me that there is some smoke to this fire. He said, if they both want it, I'll do it. Now, he didn't say, old news, the ship has sailed, I'm not interested, he's 43, he's too old. No, he said, if they both want, I'll do it. That leads me to believe that he wants it, and that leads me to believe that some things are happening right here. Now, obviously, he's 43, he hasn't fought in 4 years. He told us last year that, he doesn't like to get punched in the face anymore. He doesn't want to do training camps. He gets treated like a star in WWE. Why would I go through this? So maybe things have changed. Ultimately, I think he probably goes back to WWE, but I think there's something real here. I think there's an actual legitimate story. And by the way, Jon Jones is moving up to heavyweight. I don't think he should fight anyone until he fights for the heavyweight title, because he could slip on a banana peel, he could get knocked out. It's wasting a lot of money if you put him in there against like a Curtis Blades or a Derek Lewis, except for Brock Lesnar. If Brock Lesnar is available, you make that fight. It's a freak show fight. It's a fun fight. It's the biggest fight for Jon outside of the heavyweight title. And oh, by the way, it's the easiest fight for Jon as well, because I think he would beat Brock Lesnar rather convincingly.
So you call Brock Lesnar a freak show. Then you say that you think John Jones will be able to beat him easily. I mean, I hope Brock Lesnar's listening and shows up in your basement over there and just breaks you in half. You're talking about the alpha human, Ariel.
Brock Lesnar doesn't like me. He pretends every time someone's asking him about me that I don't exist. So I'm not too worried about
what do
he
you
thinks of
do.
me. I know deep down.
Why does everybody hate you? Dana acts like you don't exist.
No,
Brock acts like you don't exist. You cover the sport that these two are potentially two of the biggest names in it. Why does that happen, Ariel? What do you do? Is it you think, at some point?
No, I think it's just because I'm really good at my job, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, because other professions where people are really good at their job, the people they're covering just fucking despise them. That's normal.
Well, as you well, with all due respect, I cover, and I say this in the most complimentary way. So I hope whoever clips off your little clips and put this on Twitter and tags everyone to try to get me in trouble, I hope he recognizes that I'm saying this in a complimentary way. I cover a circus, and when you cover the circus, sometimes the carnival barkers get upset when you talk about what they're doing. That's all.
This dude is outrageous. By the way, we have the clip of me and Dana White talking about you because you act just like Brock Lesnar acts when he hears your name, like you didn't see this. Please run it, Zito.
I know. I heard him speaking earlier today. Ariel Helwani. Stipe will be fighting for the championship next fight, is what he said. And I don't know if that's accurate or not. He's an asshole. But that's what he said. Stipe gets the belt back potentially at the next fight anyways.
Well, you're right about a lot of things. He is an asshole. and I can see this going to a decision. They're both in great shape.
That's it right there.
That's great.
So
where's your shirt, by the way? What's going on with your no shirt situation?
Okay, so interesting dynamic here. I was told that it was going to be at one time. Okay, then it got moved up a half hour, and I was in the middle of my Stairmaster climb, because at that particular point, I was in training for my fight against Adam Cole, baby. So I just had to go shirtless with that thing. And by the way, my driveway is the only place that has enough service for me to connect to IG Live. So it was kind of a mad panic. I didn't know why I was invited to be on there. I was thankful, obviously, Dana put me on there, but I had to make it happen as quickly as possible so I didn't miss the opportunity. And by the way, almost threw up mom's spaghetti all over the thing.
Yeah, well, guess what? I'll never leave you hanging. I'll never be late to any of your, appearances or interviews.
He was early.
Requests.
He was early. He was so excited. He was early.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll never leave you hanging. I just wanted to say that. Nothing to do with him.
Very nice of you. I can't thank you enough for joining us. So you think Brock goes to WWE? John Jones fights for a title. Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal fight for the BMF title in January. Is there anything else to talk about in your world?
Don't you have a guy there who works with you now who knows a lot about Brock Lesnar? I'd rather hear what he has to say, what Michael has to say.
Mr. Mansouri? Yeah, Mr. Mansouri knows a lot about Brock Lesnar, and he knows a lot about the UFC world as well. Probably, to be honest, he could probably take your job if he wanted to, just like
easy.
Just like that if he wants to.
And people would like him probably more than me, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's like probably.
From what we've learned about you and people hating you, which, by the way, we don't. We don't hate you at all. But from what it sounds like is there is a collection of humans who do
think you're an asshat.
Yeah. They think you're the worst.
Not us.
Not us.
No.
People say you're a potentially worst person on earth. Mansouri, here's Mansouri, by the way. This guy.
I can't necessarily hear Ariel back, but I would say that you hit it right on the head. Brock will wind up back with WWE. He's just a smart businessman. There's nobody out there in any form of entertainment that's got a mind like he does. He'll go back to where he's paid well.
And he's currently locked in Canada, right? He's not even allowed to leave Canada.
He's up on the farm, man. Brock's just hunting, fishing, farming, and maybe drinking a couple Coors Lights because Bud Light won't give him any money.
That was Did you guys, whenever Brock went over to UFC, did you expect him to be as successful? I feel like the fight purists didn't give him much credit. And now I was a big wrestling fan, and I was like, yeah, Brock Lesnar's going to go in there and kill a guy. That's what he's going to do. And everybody's like, no, this is a whole different ballgame. He's going to hit. And then he did, by the way. And he has hands the size of this AFL ball, and they were just raining. He was doing elbow, like 6-inch punches to a guy's face, and it looked like the most. Like, did you guys expect him to be as good as he is? And you said he's 43. Would you expect him to still be? Because I think he is just a different species of human. Like, I think he's just a different species of human.
I don't think he'll be as good. I did expect him to be really good. He was a freak athlete. Remember, national champion, University of Minnesota, tried out for the Vikings and got cut on the last day and had no prior football, experience. So he's a freak athlete, no doubt about it. That guy, by the way, that he was hammer fisting like that was Frank Mir, who's a former UFC heavyweight champion. So he wasn't like some jabroni scrub. But now at 43, and by the way, the times are different. There's USADA. drug testing. I'm just saying the times are different. I'm just saying the times are different. That's all.
Turns out we got to end this conversation.
Poor connection.
Poor connection. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, friend of the show, host of Ariel Helwani's MMA show, DC and Helwani, who, by the way, his co-host did break news on our show, not their show. Ladies and gentlemen, Ariel Helwani. Thank you, Ariel.
There it is.
Thanks for the compliments in there that you sent, kind of in between jabs and right hooks. I appreciate it, Ariel. Really nice guy.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. He's awesome.
He is.
Yeah.
I would assume that he tries to trade barbs with people, and they do not like it.
Some people can't handle it.
And that is why people hate him.
Can't even say the BMF name here.
I know.
You
Well,
know?
they can't say it on ESPN because of not ESPN's rules. Because, by the way, ESPN bent the rules for The Last Dance.
That's right.
They
If
did.
I do recall. And, by the way, I thought that was potentially going to be a
thing moving forward.
Like, I think
Well, they did it for the Lance Armstrong doc, too.
Is ESPN potentially coming back into the, hey, we got to compete against these people on the internet. They're allowed to say whatever the fuck they want. Is there any chance we could potentially dial back these goddamn rules just a little bit? That's what Disney's saying. And the FCC's like, have you heard what we do to radio? They can't even say take a leak. All right, let's talk about Phil thanks Tiger. That's unbelievable.
That was very nice.
Unbelievable. Phil put out a tweet yesterday thanking Tiger for everything. And I would assume that he just woke up one day yesterday and was like, I don't think people understand how much I appreciate what Tiger Woods has done for me and for golf. Dear Tiger, thank you for all that you've done for this great game of golf. No one has benefited more than me, by the way. And I just wanted you to know I appreciate you and all you've ever done. That's all. Thank you. Now, is he trying to set something up here for him and Tiger to be a team against maybe a young pairing? So maybe it's like old guard versus new guard. Is there an angle to this? Potentially. Or was this Phil Mickelson coming out and saying, I know I've always been Powerade. I know I've always been number 2. Maybe the biggest number 2 in the history. But if it wasn't for the guy who was number 1, I wouldn't be anywhere near as wealthy as I am, as successful as I am, and as good at golf as I am. And I'm very thankful for that guy. And I like that Phil Mickelson cleared the air, but I think there's a potential angle here. I think there's a potential angle at this point.
And a lot of golfers probably feel this way, though, right? Because Tiger made golf so much bigger than it is, like from where he started to where it is now.
Yes. Yeah, Tiger.
Massive.
Yeah.
Phil has made so much money because of
And even now, by the way, anytime Tiger comes back, golf knows it's good. The young players know it's good. But these young players don't have the fear of Tiger like I would assume everybody else did. And Phil Mickelson was a guy, although he didn't get the best of Tiger on a very regular occasion. He was one of the only ones that would seem to stand toe-to-toe with him.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually get knocked out, but at least he was standing toe-to-toe with him. And by the way, you're only as good as your dancing partner. That is in everything. You're only as good as your dancing partner. They took golf to places it's never been before.
This is from Forbes. So Phil's won $40 million on the course, which he probably could have done without Tiger. Probably would have made more, but off the course, he's made $750 million in endorsements.
Well, it's because he has that coffee that he splits the pills, puts them in there.
Yep.
He puts some honey in there, and then it's like the name of the coffee brand is actually like an action. It's like super fresh to death coffee or something
16
like.
different substances and fluids and chemicals and compounds.
And that guy can lift his leg over his head. He's got calves this big, and he's hitting balls 350 yards at the age of whatever it is. I want whatever the hell is in that coffee, and I wish that was Phil Mickelson.
He's also done a tremendous 180 on his career. I remember when we were younger, and I don't know why because I was too young, but a lot of people did not like Phil.
Oh, yeah, hated
Phil. And
the
now
lefty.
I feel like he's universally loved now.
Well, it's because he's hitting bombs. He has.
And hellacious seeds.
And by the way, we've probably learned more about Phil than what we learned about him before, as just being the guy who's potentially in the way of Tiger is how he's being represented. Now with social media, you get to learn people, take the spin zone, take the narrative out of it, get to learn about the person itself. Phil Mickelson is an absolute legend. Great calves. Not as good as mine, good calves.
So do you think match 3 is him and Tiger possibly versus like a Rory?
Like Dustin and Dustin
Morikawa.
and Brooks or Colin Morikawa and somebody like that. Like 2 young studs, I think. What was the eye roll for? I think you just rolled your eyes at one of those golfers.
Come on.
I think it was probably DJ in my head. I'm talking.
You don't like him?
No, he just when he was on that one with Rory, he just didn't talk.
Oh yeah. You'd have to have good commentary.
Brooks, JT,
huh?
They should do other athletes from other sports again.
I did it. That was awesome.
Are we saying that because there's a chance that potentially in 10 years I'm one of those guys?
Yeah. Maybe.
By the way, my golf game, last time I played was 3 months ago. Not bad.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Not bad. I was pin seeking. That's with clubs that don't even fit me.
Yeah. All you got to do is win Tahoe once, and you get in the
match thing?
The match.
Yeah.
The Masters.
Who's that tennis player?
Masters.
I get into Masters. I win Tahoe.
Marty
That's what they
Fish.
say.
Something we can maybe look into.
Marty Fish.
That guy, fucking golfer, dude. I watched that Tahoe thing because we've seen our guy, D. Lineman, D-tackle.
Kyle Williams.
Kyle Williams. We've seen Kyle Williams in person golf. Unbelievable.
Very good.
He flopped a chip over my head from like 3 yards in front of me, and he said, the last time I did this, I hit somebody right in the teeth. And then takes his club back and just goes for it, Incredible golfer. He battled with that Marty guy. But there's got Del Curry is a guy who is scratch golfer. Peyton, obviously, great golfer. I mean, there's a lot of Tony Romo, Aaron Rodgers, probably a great golfer.
Steph was in the top 10.
Brett Favre was hitting balls 375 yards at 3 woods. There's a lot of great golfers out there. But if I was to have 3 to 10 years of doing nothing but just being one of those old whites, just goes over to a country club and just kind of hits balls all day. Yeah. I think senior tour is something I'm putting on the bucket list.
50 years old.
I would like to win a senior tour event at some point. I have to live that long, which is massive question mark because of what I did to my body and what I'm still doing to my body. But that is something that has been put on the bucket list. Is I would like to win a senior tour event. And I think I'll be able to accomplish it.
Yeah, you said old whites. You just got to get old first.
I just got to be an old white.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
You are white.
Old white.
Yeah.
One of the whitest. Spray tan is all the way gone, by the way. Now we're talking about skin color.
Still good tan.
September. It's almost fall.
I had a good tan under the spray tan because the honeymoon lady and I went down to Florida. I kind of cooked myself down there. A little bit too much oil in the sun down there. And when you're in Florida, by the way, closer to the equator, which means the sun is a surprising one, and that shit hits different. So then you put a spray tan on top of that. It was pretty good. I'm probably gonna have to spray tan this week, though. Maybe next week. Get it back. I kind of enjoyed the spray tan, to be honest with you. It made me look
pretty good.
It made me look thinner when I took my shirt off.
Well, they say.
Like I'd walk out of the dumper, in the morning.
Yep.
And I look in the mirror, and they say, if you can't
tone it,
then you
tan it.
And that's what spray tan does. Mm-hmm. And maybe I ask the machine that sprays me, put on an 8-pack.
Should.
That's not a bad idea.
Is that too much to ask? I don't think so.
No.
That's not one of the packages available?
No, you got to stand in these fucking poses. And that's why your armpits don't get hit.
I was going to say, can you get some cream for the pits or no?
No, I don't know.
The Egyptians created spray tans. That's why you do those poses.
All right. We done? I think we are. Seems like we're done for the day.
Do we cross off everything?
Yeah, some things on there.
Well, Joe Judge recovering the fumble. Love the Joe Judge. And by the way, Joe Judge has hired Freddie Kitchens, Jason Garrett. He's making players run laps. He's instituting all the Patriot way. It's first time being a head coach. He's a special teams guy. A lot of people wondered how it would work with the New York Giants because all the old Patriot coaches that go somewhere else and try to institute the Patriot way never works out, seems to always fail. Matt Patricia at the Detroit Lions, that franchise has been patient with him. Maybe they'll be able to get the guys in there. We wondered if Joe Judge is going to be hated or loved by his team. Yesterday, a video came out from training camp. Looks like they're all on the same page. Joe Judge, mask on. Fuck it, mask off. I am going to slide through a fountain. Fumble recovery. The boys go on top of him. And instead of hitting him with wrestling kicks when he was down, they were celebrating. And if you look in the background, seems like genuine smiles are happening. Now, do they all just want a job or do they actually like Joe Judge? That is TBD. But it looks like that team is coming together around old Joe Judge. And the fact that he's that athletic and recovering a fumble, you got to be proud of him. Are the Giants maybe a sleeper in the NFC East? Are the Giants a sleeper? Danny Dimes looks like he's back in better shape than he's ever been. Saquon Barkley is still there. They got the defense. They got things rolling and a new head coach, a new mentality. Are the Giants a sleeper in the NFC East, which is surrounded by question marks? Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, after everything we'd heard about Joe Judge, like the last couple weeks, I figured they were going to win like 3-4 games. After seeing that, I mean, who's to say they're not going to win 11 or 12?
Yeah.
Or 4 or 5.
I mean, they know how to recover football. Look at that.
Exactly.
They're not going to lose any turnover.
Those guys are juiced up. They're ready to go to war for that guy.
Last one we got to get to, NFL division winners. We did the AFC North and the NFC North yesterday. We'll do the AFC South and NFC South today. Right now, on FanDuel, the odds to win the AFC South are as such. Indianapolis Colts are the favorite at plus 125. Great football team that brings in Phillip Rivers. Got a chance to talk to somebody inside the building yesterday for the Indianapolis Colts. Not a GM or a coach or anything like that. Somebody who is in the building. And I said, how's Phil? And they said, amazing. So Phil Rivers is winning over the building. Phil Rivers is showcasing that he's talented, and anybody that watched film on Phillip Rivers last year will battle against you on the narrative that his arm is weak and that he's making bad decisions. They say the film doesn't show that. Did the Colts, who picked Phil Rivers over Tom Brady, find a missing piece to an already established team to make a run? The sportsbook FanDuel does believe so. Tennessee Titans are plus 165. They get Ryan Tannehill back. They get Derrick Henry back. They have their offensive line back. They got a team that made a run last year until they ran into the buzzsaw. That was the Kansas City Chiefs. They knocked off the Baltimore Ravens early in the playoffs. Tennessee Titans are potentially a team of the future, everybody's saying. But the FanDuel Sportsbook says, not so fast. Indianapolis still got it in third. The Houston Texans at plus 320. J.J. Watt is back healthy. How you doing? Keep it moving. Deshaun Watson is back playing quarterback. They had a run in the playoffs last year, just like the Tennessee Titans did. They now become a team that traded away DeAndre Hopkins, their number one wide receiver, for a bag of balls. Did they get better or get worse? We will find out. David Johnson, running back from Arizona, is now at tailback for the Houston Texans. Will he be the David Johnson of old, or the David Johnson of recent couple years? That is TBD. Billy O'Stooge taking over the whole team down there. Who knows what goes on? And the Jacksonville Jaguars are in a distant fourth, but we like underdogs around here.
Oh, yeah. Good odds.
At plus 1,200. So to go through this again, the Indianapolis Colts, and this is a sports book. This is not media people talking. This is not other players. It's not. These are people who make a living on making money off of other people's predictions and guesses. They have the Indianapolis Colts at plus 125. The Titans at plus 165. The Texans at plus 320. Pretty close there. Jacksonville Jaguars, the team that has had a clearance sale on all of their good players, plus 1,200. For me, the team that wins the AFC South, go ahead and hammer it. They're the favorites for a reason. Indianapolis Colts plus 125. Hammer that thing.
Hard to argue.
I think they're going to be good.
Titans.
I think so too.
And the NFC South. Now, this is a team. What's that? What's
you highlighted?
No, we are.
What are you talking
we're not
about?
talking about that. We are currently talking
No,
about
it
the
usually
NFC
happens.
South now.
Animation.
The NFC South minus 115. The Saints are that much favorites. Not even a long shot. They are minus 115 to win the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 160. Everybody knows what they got. They got Tom Brady. They got Gronk. They got a coaching staff ready to go and a defense that was young and got better towards the end of the year. You got the Atlanta Falcons at plus 700 and at plus 1,700. That is such massive odds. The Carolina Panthers with Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey, Matt Rule, an entire new coaching staff, they are at plus 1,700. I will say this. It's not going to be Matt Ryan and the Falcons, although I have warmed up to Matt Ryan strictly because Julio Jones, by all accounts, is the best wide receiver in the game. Everybody talks about that. Carolina Panthers plus 1,700. I apologize, Matt Rule. I'm a big fan of you. I like Coach Snow on the defense side of the ball. I like the way you play football, special teams, all three phases. You enjoy that whole thing. You got a tall task ahead of you. You signed a deal for like $70 million or whatever it is. But I think that is a growing process. Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey, you got some real staples of the offense, but I don't think this year's the year, especially in the NFC South. New Orleans Saints. A lot of drama with the New Orleans Saints. Oh, yeah. Not normally this amount of drama or distractions out of the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints are this tight-knit community. Sean Payton's big-ass brain on the offensive side of the ball. Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan on the defensive side of the ball. You got Drew Brees still who can throw everywhere. You got weapons, Michael Thomas. You got Latavius Murray. You got a really good team. You got a great fan base, but who knows how many of them are going to be allowed in the stadium. But it seems like there's too much drama down there. It looks like the summer camp of all summer camps is happening down at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp. Tom Brady's celebrating. Gronk is living his best life. Bruce Arians is having a good time. That defense is going to get hot, and they're going to play good football. They don't have a kicker. They haven't had a kicker for 6 years, which could bite them in the ass because the Saints got a great one. They got a great punter as well. But for me, the winner of the NFC South, A.Q. Shipley and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, that's the show. 2:31 here. AJ is on Sirius right now with his brother-in-law.
Jesus.
So he just left us in the dust. We'll be back at Manana at noon. Remember, next Wednesday, September 9th, we debut on Sirius XM Channel 82. Be a friend, tell a friend. If you're nowhere near the YouTube or the video, go ahead and hit up Sirius. It will be the exclusive home to our audio. We can't thank Sirius enough for the opportunity next week, and we can't thank you all for watching this show on a daily basis. We moved hours. Our concurrent viewers have gone up. We thank you for fucking with us, rocking with us. If it wasn't for you, we would be absolutely nothing. Thanks to our guests, and thanks to the boys. At Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, Evan Foxy, Mr. Mansuri, Intern Mitt, at Boston Connor, and at Nick Morono.
Pat, every day so far you've checked off every box on the list there, but I noticed today you haven't
Point at it, Nick. Go ahead, point at it.
This one right here, and I'm just wondering why you're dodging this one.
To me, somebody being exploited, okay, is not a topic of conversation. Now, I know the internet was having a field day on this entire thing, okay? I know the internet was having a good time with this, but I do not like promoting exploitation, and I believe in this particular case, our friend, not our friend actually, Antonio Brown's being exploited here, okay? And I don't like it. I don't want to promote it. I don't want to talk about it, but it's on the internet if you'd like to see it.
How's he getting exploited? I thought she was just chewing on a foot-long Tootsie Roll.
I checked it off.
He had that for 3 hours. I had that for 3
I'll think of
hours.
Islamic
Worst
jokes
show of all time.
before the show.
Worst show of all time. Dumbest show of all time. I
Big Ben saw
by the
it.
way, Zito snuck that in there, okay? Snuck that in there. Candidly. Just after this thing was already made. That's unbelievable. This show stinks.
Hey, we hit every topic though today.
Yeah, we did.
Let's go.
Shit. Really good. All right, that's it. David Blaine's still alive. Good news. We're back tomorrow. This is the Pat McAfee Show.